champion, to the one and only Team 2.
Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is, Monday, August 18th. Now, I've just noticed, by the way, I haven't changed the date on here, and it's going to really irritate me throughout the episode, so I'm going to change it live on air. Hang on, where are we? There we go, it's changed. You probably didn't even notice that down, there you go, around right there. August 18th, 2025. Welcome, everyone. As I said, if you haven't been on this show before, then what it is there is what we are is what it says there. Talking Boxing. You put your comments in the comments section, and we talk about whatever you would like to talk about. And first of all, just while I remember, apologies to all our Spotify listeners last week, because I forgot to put it up until Friday. Normally I do it on a Tuesday morning when I upload the Walking Boxing. And actually, I can't remember who it was, messaged me on Thursday night and said, Lynden, actually it might have even been Friday morning, and said, Lynden, any chance you might want to upload the Talking Boxing episode? So I apologise about that, but it will be up, I promise you, on first thing Tuesday morning. So a little bit going on in the boxing world. Of course, we've got Nikita, Michael Zerafa, Brock Jarvis, Jazzy Parr, all in action on Wednesday night. And a little bit of controversy, as always. I'm sure someone's put it in the comment section there about Michael Zerafa today, no-show at the press conference, and he's in turn released a statement. It's all happening. Also, of course, on the weekend, Sam Goodman coming up short against Nick Ball. Certainly no disgrace in that, so let me know your thoughts and opinions. I don't think anyone really questioned it might have been a few, but not many questioned the result. It was more the scorecards, 115, 113, 118, 110, and 117, 111, which was just way off the mark, those last two scorecards. So let me know what you're thinking. Now, I know these comments are going to be out of order. I've got my phone here. On my phone, it comes up in order, but on here, for the first bit, they're all over the place. So I apologise if the comments are read out not in order and not in context, but as I said, I'll be here all night trying to go through the comments to get them in the right order. So we're just going to start with old mate Big J. I actually watched your review the other day, Big J, and it was good. I think you were, this is the Sam Goodman one, I think you were first off the mark, actually, which is good. If you haven't followed Big J, check out Aussie Boxing Talk. It's always a good watch. What's the best way to describe it, Big J? It is a little bit probably like walking boxing, what I do, with just a little bit of spice involved. All right, so if you're a little bit, what would you call it? A little bit precious, don't watch that because he hits you right between the eyes. And I do enjoy watching a Big J. So again, if you haven't subscribed to Aussie Boxing Talk, do that as well. All right, again, these comments are going to be all over the place for the first bit, but we'll see how we go. Shadow Boxer, welcome to the show, mate. What do we got? I see Ben Damon and George Rose making a big deal about Zerafa being a no-show at the press conference. But Zerafa claims he was told plans had changed, hence he didn't show this promo game. Well, depends on who you believe, Shadow Boxer. So if you don't know what's going on, and I'm assuming if you're watching this show and you're listening to this show on Spotify afterwards, you'd know about what happened this morning. So I'll spell it out for you again. So the telecast starts on Main Event or No Limit or Australian Boxing Central, wherever you're watching it. Oz Boxing, I think they had it on. And they straight off the bat, Ben Damon questioned George Rose. Well, obviously welcomed him to the show or to the live telecast of the press conference, and said, "We have an announcement to make that Michael Zerafa will not be attending the press conference." And George Rose, strangely, you straight off the bat, you could just something was up. Something was up, and I must admit, I got the impression that Michael Zerafa was on the verge of pulling out of the show and there'd been an argument or something had happened. George Rose was not his bubbly self. He said, I think Ben Damon asked him, is Michael Zerafa going to fight? He just said, yep. He said, pretty much, let's move on. Very short answers, wanted to change the subject. So something had obviously happened. I thought something had gone haywire. Maybe Michael had maybe been a prima donna or something like that. And they were going back and forth, and Michael had threatened to pull out of the show. And as a protest, he said, well, I'm not going to turn up to the press conference. Something along those lines. That's sort of just in my opinion anyway, that's the sort of storyline that I thought George, and not so much Ben. He's just hosting the show. I'm not sure he would have been in on it, or was he? I don't know. But I just got the impression that it was Michael being difficult and, as I said, maybe being a prima donna or something like that. And George Rose, that had a bit of a tiff. And Michael said, well, stick to press conference. I'm not coming. That's the impression I got. So, again, I'm not sure what you guys thought. But then I read Michael Zerafa's statement. Now, I'm actually going to read it out on here as we go because I want to get the context right. I don't want to misquote Michael. All right. So, let me see if I can find it. Has he actually... Looks like he's taken it down, has he? I think he's taken it down. Hang on. I know someone who had it up before, though. My old mate Joel Camilleri, he had it up. So there we go. All right. It does look like it's been taken down. This is live. What are we? 7:07 on a Monday night on the 18th of August. And it was there today and it's now gone. All right. This is what he said. Let me make this very clear. At 9:41 a.m., I received a call from No Limit telling me I was no longer required at the press conference. When I asked why, the response was vague. We've had to make some changes. No further explanation. That was quote unquote. We knew it didn't sit right, so we released a statement 2 hours before the press conference laying out the facts. Still, they went ahead and falsely told national TV and streaming audiences that I no-showed. That is not just dishonest, it's defamation. You cannot remove someone, then publicly shame them for not being there. That's a direct attack on my integrity, my professionalism, and my name, and that has real consequences. I've spent years building a brand I'm proud of, and I won't sit back while others try to damage my reputation to serve their own narrative. This attempt to damage my reputation is serious and it won't be ignored. Our legal team has now been contacted. Enough is enough. So that was Michael Zerafa's response. It's actually, while we go there, I'll go down to the Super Chat before I answer that. Andy, thanks very much, mate. Hello, boxing fans. Congratulations to all the winners over the weekend, especially young Moses Itauma. Bad luck to Sammy Goodman in his efforts. Smash that like button and $10. Thank you very much there, Andy. Very much appreciated, mate. So what do we make of that? After reading that, I thought, well, that makes all the sense in the world. Why wouldn't Michael Zerafa be at the press conference? It just doesn't make sense. If anyone loves a microphone in front of them, it's Michael Zerafa. And No Limit would have, they needed Michael Zerafa there. They needed, and the first questions that Ben and the other commentators, what was the Eloise, someone they had on there as well. The first questions they're asking is, what about Michael Zerafa? What about Michael Zerafa? They asked Brock Jarvis about Michael Zerafa. So it's who knows? Maybe it's all planned. I don't know. I've just got a feeling, just a gut feeling that maybe it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'll just let you know my gut feeling is that after what Michael has said about Nikita, especially this morning, saying he was an embarrassment to the Zoo name. This is what he said this morning in regards to Nikita's comments throughout the week about the breast milk and eating placentas and all that sort of stuff. I've just got a feeling maybe 2 days before the fight, they didn't want the guys together. I mean, Nikita's not going to do anything. I mean, he's not that kind of guy. But I'm just gathering maybe they didn't want the tension. Maybe they didn't want any possible back and forth between the teams. Something along those lines. And George, in his wisdom, has thought, well, let's just keep them apart. We don't need this 2 days out, any dramas between anyone happening. We just want them to get to the finish line so we can get this show on the road. And they've said to Michael, don't worry about coming. But as I said, it doesn't make sense then that they get to the press conference and they put it all on Michael Zerafa. They put it all on him to say, well, he's just advised us he's not coming. So, look, I'm assuming by this time tomorrow we'll have a few more answers. But at the moment, that's all we've got. But a really bizarre day. All right, we'll keep going through or else we're going to fall behind. Still a shadow boxer. Goodman was walking ball onto shots beautifully at times. If he had any mustard on his shots, completely different story. I tend to agree, shadow boxer. Look, I thought Sam boxed really, really well. I do. But the problem is with Sam, and I can't really put my finger on it, he's a very, very good all-round boxer. He boxes really well. He actually does have a bit of oomph on his punches, I suppose, but not enough to really knock people out. He goes really well to the body. He's got a really good little left rip to the body there. Got a little bit of pop in his punches, but just probably not enough to, I suppose, get his opponent's attention. But he does everything really well. Good overall fighter is Sam Goodman. Very good overall fighter. But he just lacks something that gets your attention. And remember, you've got the judges watching the fight. And we might be watching Sam Goodman because he's an Aussie and you tend to get your goggles or your blinkers on a little bit. And the judges do the same thing. And when you've got someone that's just boxing along and not really doing anything out of the ordinary, nothing flash. And Sam Goodman doesn't really do anything flash. He boxes along nice. He he'll rip underneath and you might throw a hook or uppercut that looks nice, but it doesn't really go wow. Where you look at someone then like a Nick Ball. This is why I think the scorecards were so wide on two of the judges' cards. Because then you got Nick Ball, who doesn't throw as many punches as Sam Goodman, but he throws everything, as Mike Tyson would say, with bad intentions and with a lot of pop on them. That's what's getting your attention. So I think sometimes it just comes down to what's grabbing your attention. And when you've got a very, very even fight like yesterday's fight was, something like that can really maybe distort your view of what's happening. Now, we're all obviously watching Sam Goodman saying, well, how good is Sam going? Boxing really well. And geez, nice little uppercuts and hooks in there. And he's, like you said there, shadow box, he's walking ball on the shots, and that's great. The thing is that the judges aren't sitting there admiring Sam Goodman's work like we are. Because a lot of us expected him to maybe get run over. Well, I didn't, but a lot of people did. But you know what I mean? Like they're looking at the fight and they're looking at the real highlight type of things that Nick Ball was doing. Every punch is coming hard and fast and he's putting effort in. Goodman's just sort of boxing along. Sam Goodman's just boxing along. And I think that might have actually been a factor in what fight those judges were watching that gave it to Ball on a wide basis. I think the one that scored at 115, 113, he was probably like us and probably doing the right thing and looking at what guy was actually, or each of the guys was actually doing, not necessarily how flash and hard and they were throwing the punches. So I've got a feeling the one that scored at 115, 113 was noticing Sam's boxing ability and his work rate and the little punches he was throwing in there. The other two were just purely looking at Nick Ball's big shots he was throwing. But either way, I don't agree with those scorecards. All right, William G. No Limit George and gang should have been more professional, though. I've obviously gone past one of your comments. Sorry, William. You win some, you lose some. George, cop it on the chin. You did get paro. Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. I don't know the context that's in, but I'll come back to that because, again, these comments are all over the place. Give and take, still with William. You'll probably get Sam back, and who knows, you could even get Appetite if you change your attitude. Once again, good work, Sam. Yep, 100% there, William. It was very, very good effort. Oh, hang on. Here's your first comment. Sorry about that. We're going around in circles here. Evening all, says William. All right, this is the first comment. This will put the others into context. Firstly, congratulations to Sam. You did yourself and Australia proud, mate. Lyndon, this morning you mentioned No Limit being quiet with no representation over in Saudi. Yes, William, and I stand by those comments. Now, if you didn't see Walking Boxing this morning, I did say that I was very, very disappointed that No Limit couldn't have some representation over there for Sam Goodman. I know there was lots of maybe conspiracy theories that we're all talking about. Of why didn't No Limit build the fight up in the lead up to the fight? There was nothing. There was nothing in the lead up to the fight about Sam Goodman fighting over in Saudi Arabia. I think we all jumped to conclusions and thought that there must be maybe Sam and No Limit have parted ways. Maybe there's been a fallout. Maybe No Limit haven't been happy that Sam has taken the fight over there. But I don't know. But I think we all jumped to all different conclusions. Well, obviously it wasn't the case because one of the first ones to sort of put something up afterwards was No Limit, and they expressed the support for Sam and everything else like that. So obviously there was no issue there. So I just think it's really, really poor form that no one from No Limit went over to support Sam Goodman. It wouldn't have taken much. They would have still been back for this Wednesday's fights. They would have left the morning after the fights in Riyadh. They would have been home probably tomorrow, I think. Yeah, Tuesday, something. There would have been plenty of time. And I did mention that Tasman fighters had the same issue. Well, they had it on the same weekend. In this instance here, you've got Sam fighting on Sunday morning and then Nikita fighting on Wednesday. So plenty of time to get home in England, where Tasman had Justice Honey fighting, and over here they had Jai Pataya on pretty much the same night. Mick Francis stayed behind here in Australia to oversee their promotion. His wife Fran went over there with some of the teams to show support for Justice and be there for him. That is the way you play it. Now, I can't believe maybe in this instance here that George might have hung around. He's the face of the promotion. Lots of press conferences to do, interviews to do, all that sort of stuff. Lots of stuff to organise, those last-minute things. So I get it. He needed to be here. Maybe his brother Trent needed to be here. He's the matchmaker, all that sort of stuff. But why couldn't Matt Rose go over to Riyadh and be there for Sam Goodman to fly the flag? They're over there for Tim. So I don't see any difference here, apart from the fact that Tim has put a few more bucks in the pocket than Sam. I just think if he's your fighter, he's your fighter. You give him all your support and go over there. I mean, I just put myself in Sam Goodman's position. Now, I know Sam said he didn't really care about it, and that, I suppose he's got to say that. But I tell you what, if I was in his position, I'd be like, guys, you've got me the opportunity. Here I am fighting for the world title. The show here in Australia is just a Wednesday night pay-per-view with no titles on the line. I don't think there's any titles on the line. There's a couple of regional titles. I'd be really disappointed if I was Sam to think that no one went over there to support him. Just my opinion, but as a promoter and a fighter on both counts, as a promoter, I would have been there or had someone there for him. As a fighter, I would have expected someone to be there and would have been pissed if no one come over to show support. So that's my opinion anyway, William. Still with William. Looks like you got a couple in a row there. It's obvious No Limit are pissed Sam jumped ship. I understand. They've spent a lot of money setting him up. Sam done the right thing doing what's best for himself. Well, he didn't jump ship though, William. He simply got an offer to fight on the Riyadh card. No different to Tim fighting over in America. That wasn't a No Limit show either. I know it was sort of in conjunction with PBC and over there, but they weren't the promoters. They sent Tim off and they would have got a percentage of his purse, just like with Sam being the home promoter. So he didn't jump ship on this occasion, William. It was simply a case of, by the sounds of it, No Limit just not seeing it as a priority. Well, in my opinion, No Limit, you should have made it a priority and got your asses over there and showed our man some support. So, end of the day, it wouldn't have made much difference, but geez, are you in it together or you're not? That's just my opinion. All right, Big J. Sam did lose it for himself in the final rounds, took the foot off the pedal in the later rounds. Yeah, I agree with that, Big J. I, again, commented about that this morning. I thought after 10 rounds, it was very close. Look, I might have even had it even. Either way, very, very close. Could have been 6-4, 5-5. I don't know. But either way, he was in the fight. And those last two rounds, and maybe it gets back to what I said before about maybe just Nick Ball having the style and throwing the punches that really get the judges' attention. Sam, he did just take the foot off the pedal a little bit, and he was already struggling with getting the judges' attention by the sounds of things, let alone taking the foot off a little bit in the last two rounds. I thought the 12th round was very close, but again, if you're going to have a close round, the odds are that the round was going to go to Nick Ball. So I just thought he just stopped a little bit in the last two rounds and let Nick Ball take the rounds, and that's what cost him the fight. All right, Drew. I found the pre-fight Nikita versus Ismaili press conference unwatchable. I get that George Rhodes needs to sell the event to the public, but for the love of God, I want to hear the fighters talk more. Well, Drew, this is what I touched on the other day. I totally agree with what you're saying there, but also they don't let anyone else ask questions. It's just Ben Damon. Now, is it really a press conference if the press don't get to ask questions? I know it's not the only time it happens. I know Eddie Hearn does that a lot in his press conferences as well. He asks the questions, and I get it, and maybe that's just the agreement. Maybe there was no press there. I don't know. Although I'm sure with that little press release that Michael Zerafa didn't turn up would have got them all scooting down there to see what was going on. But it was a little bit unwatchable. Look, the thing is, with that press conference, I thought, like all the prelim fighters, they all get, their 90 seconds, whatever it is, to have a quick chat. and they sort of sit there bored for the rest of it, and they've got weight cuts to do and last-minute preparation. So you can see them just looking at the watch saying, get me out of here. They just lose interest really quick. Then, unfortunately, without Michael Zerafa there, and we've all, we've got our own opinions of Michael and everything else, but one thing he does bring is entertainment and eyeballs and keeps you hanging. And I just thought without him there today in this press conference, they obviously had an extended interview with Nikita, added to that as well as Ismaili, what's his name, lose him or whatever his name is, Ismaili, couldn't speak a word of English, so we had the back and forth with the translator or the interpreter, and the answers he was giving were just one-sentence answers. It was totally awkward. So what happened was that Nikita got a drawn-out interview, and we all know that the interviews aren't necessarily Nikita's strong point unless he's giving his quirky comments, but to have a serious press conference-y type interview with Nikita, he does struggle just a little bit. Well, not so much struggles, but you can tell he's got no interest in doing it. It's not really his thing, and it really comes through his answers to those questions at the press conference. So I think in that respect, Drew, I think you're right. It was a little bit off. Brock Jarvis added a little bit. Ahmed Redder added a bit. Really liked what Ben Suver had to say about Bruno. I think it was a great move to have Ben Suver sitting next to Bruno, because Bruno, who does struggle a little bit with English as well, his answers were a little bit ho-hum. Well, Ben Suver stepped in and gave us some really good answers, and I thought it was really good. So, yeah, overall it was a little bit unwatchable, Drew, but just by certain circumstances. But we're all talking about it afterwards with Michael Zerafa not being there. Maybe that's what they wanted, Drew. I don't know, but I do agree. All right, still with Drew. The hype and direction of Itauma is both wonderful and exciting. That being said, I think he's about 4 fights off fighting Usyk if brought along correctly. Usyk might be retired by then, but that's okay. Yeah, I do agree, Drew, that it could be 3 or 4 fights, but when you've got Turki Al-Sheikh saying, I want this man to fight Alexander Usyk next, and Frank Warren saying, we're ready, I wouldn't be surprised if this fight happens, Drew. I'm with you. Does he deserve it? Probably not. Is he ready? Maybe, maybe not. But that doesn't stop the fact that he'll probably get the fight. Excuse me. He'll probably get the fight. And Joseph Parker, like we've always said, he 100% deserves the fight with Usyk above anyone. But apart from the videos that he does on social media, he's not the most appealing type of guy. Really nice guy. Really, really nice guy, actually. But is he really marketable? Is he really going to sell the tickets? If Usyk's only got 1 fight left, does he go out with someone like this where he's going to have highlight reel after highlight reel knockout? Is Itauma. They can promote this up. It probably generates more money than Parker, which obviously says a lot about who he fights next. So my gut feeling is, Drew, we could see Usyk and Itauma next. I really do. And I think, unfortunately, Joseph might get stiffed. But will he? He'll get awarded the WBO belt, no problem. And he's still a world champion. I know he hasn't won the title, but at least he'll have the belt, and then he'll have numerous others to pick from. But, yeah, just deserving the fight or deserving a title shot doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Or, in this case, doesn't necessarily mean just because you're not ready doesn't mean you're going to get a shot. All right, Tony, what do we got there, mate? Drinking breast milk, mixing placenta in your protein shake. Whatever happened to running and hitting the bags, chasing a chicken in the LOA, sparring, all those things that boxers do. Yeah, well, look, I think we all agreed that drinking egg whites, or not actually egg whites, egg yolks, wasn't it? Was a strange thing to do when Rocky started to do it, Tony. But yeah, I'm with you. Look, I just think what it is, Tony, he's just an honest guy. If he gets asked a question, he's going to give you an honest answer. That's just the way he goes. And look, you get the impression now that the people that interview him are asking him questions to try and get this stuff out of him. And maybe it's a strategic thing where they think, well, geez, if we ask him just a question about the fight, he's just going to tell you he's going to fight to the death and do this and do that. It's not really what we're after. So let's ask him something quirky and see what he comes out with. And I think this has been blown way out of proportion. I think it was just an honest answer to a question. And I think even Michael Zerafa said that, what did he say? I can't remember. I won't try and quote him because I can't remember, but even he had something to say about it. And yeah, I think it's just been blown out of proportion a little bit. As I said, I think he's just answered a question honestly, and they've run with it. But I'm with you there, mate. Look, I think he still does running and hitting the bags, maybe chasing chickens, I don't know. But I think he still does all that. It's just this is something he does. Remember, this is a guy that actually was eating, did he eat a cobra's heart or something like that as well? Just, was it monkey's nuts or something? I can't remember, but he's done some weird stuff, Nikita. And even getting back to the press conference, you would have seen too, he was asked a question. I don't know whether you picked up on it. No doubt you did, but he was asked a question. I think it was about something to do with his little daughter and that he's just had. And I reckon there was 10 to 15 seconds went past of him just staring off into the yonder and not answering. I think everyone was starting to, is he all right? Does he need a little bit of a poke to make sure he's awake? Has he fallen asleep with his eyes open? What's happened? He's just that type of guy. So, and I think that's what we love about him. I think if I was his manager, though, if I was Glenn Jennings, I'd be probably saying, hey, mate, just let's just stick to the boxing. Don't really care what you get up to, behind closed doors, but, let's just get them talking about the boxing and not drinking breast milk and eating placentas. All right, Liam, can't help but put the tinfoil hat on and think that Zerafa no showing, quote unquote, was an attempt at selling the card by creating a narrative. Anyone else think the same? Not really, Liam. I mean, I know it has been brought up. I've just got a feeling, was it a miscommunication between the two? I don't know. I mean, who do you believe? I mean, you've got George Rose saying that he's a no-show by his choice. Then you've got Michael saying, well, they told me not to come. So who do you believe? I'm not sure whether either one of them have really, I mean, you think about it, is it George saying, hey, to Michael Zerafa, hey, Michael, I'm going to tell everyone you're a no-show today. You put out your statement. I don't think that's the sort of thing they would sit down and plan. I think something's gone along the line somewhere where there's been a miscommunication. That's all I can sort of put it down to, Liam. I mean, nothing would surprise me, but I think even though Mike was a very, very good promoter of these types of events, I think this close to the fight, 2 days out, I've got a feeling that Zerafa, just putting my fighter's hat on, would say, mate, no fun and games. Just let me get there. Let me get me 5 minutes of questions and let me get out of here. That's what I think Michael would be more concerned about. There has been a little bit of a love-hate relationship between No Limit and Michael Zerafa. So I'm not sure Michael Zerafa would be doing No Limit any favours by doing something like this, by agreeing to pull this sort of stunt. I don't think so. I think Michael Zerafa, again, with that fighter's hat on, would have said, mate, I don't give a shit what you're trying to do with getting pay-per-view numbers and all this sort of crap. I just want to get there. I want to do my interview, get out there and go and relax, cut weight, get the weight off, and then get on with the fight. That's what I think Michael would have said. So it does make sense what you're saying there, Liam, but I don't think that would have been the case. I'll just have a drink here, guys. Sorry. All right, Big J. A gallant effort by Goodman yesterday. Yeah, mate, it was. Very, very good effort by Sammy. I was waiting for a comment. What else? We've got a follow-up here from Big J. Better than what George or Tim have produced all year. I knew there was something coming there, Big J. However, those ridiculous cards of 118, 110, and 117, 111 truly diminished the effort of Goodman. I had it 115, 114 the ball, a narrow win. So you had it one of the rounds even, Big J. So you had it, 6-5 and 1 even. Yeah, that's probably not far off the mark, mate. Look, as far as what George or Tim have produced, okay, you're right. It was a better effort. But, geez, we're not trying to rip down, George Kambosos losing the Richardson Hitchens or Tim losing the front door. They're two pretty gallant efforts by both guys. And when you fight the best, you're always prone to the loss that these guys had. So I'm certainly not going to rubbish George or Tim, mate. But I suppose you're looking at it as it is. Sam Goodman lost a very close decision where the other two were stopped. So, all right, Richard. Do we even know if Itauma has a gas tank? Parker is a smart fighter and would love to see it ASAP. Yeah, you're right, Richard. My gut feeling is yes. The way he fights, I think. So we all look at the spectacular knockouts, and I commented on this the other day in walking boxing. The reason he's so devastating is because of his speed, not necessarily about just the power. Yes, he's got some pop in his punches. That's obvious. But you look at the way he lands his punches flush. And the reason they land flush is because he's so fast. He'll balk, he'll feint, a little movement, and then bang, he comes straight over the top or comes up underneath. And he's just way faster than the guys he's fighting. That's why I think he would struggle with Usyk, not to mention Usyk's a great fighter and, he's got probably more ability than what Itauma has, but he's also fast. So with his hands, his feet, his head. So I think he would negate Itauma, and I think he would beat Itauma. I don't agree with Tyson Fury, who said he would destroy Usyk. But as for Parker, the only thing I'll worry about with Joseph Parker against him, Richard, is that Joseph's not a fast guy either. He's probably faster than a lot of heavyweights out there, but geez, Moses Itauma is lightning quick. And I just get the feeling just watching him fight, he's not the type of guy who's reckless. You watch him, and that's why I think he would have a good he would have a gas tank, because you watch him. He doesn't even probably unlike what Mike Tyson used to do. He was just full steam ahead, let's go, and Mike Tyson would gas even when he was at his peak. Not that a lot of his fights went past 3 or 4 rounds, but with Itauma, look at the way he fights. He's patient, he's cool, he's collected, as they say, and he sets the punches up. But when he has you hurt, you're gone. He will just put you away. So I don't think, you look at the fight yesterday with Dillian Whyte. It wasn't a case of Moses Itauma going out there in seek and destruct mode. It was him going out there. He boxed smart, waited for the opening, caught him, rocked him, and ended it. And that's what good fighters do. And that's why I think he would have a gas tank, Richard, because he's not going to go out and be reckless and punch himself out. He just won't do it. I think he's got good boxing IQ from what I can see. I think he would be the type that if he did go hard early, he would have the smarts to back off, take a round off, get his composure and his second win, and then he would go again. That's probably the big difference I can see between him and Mike. And that's a massive compliment to Moses Itauma, by the way, because that's what he's got over Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson wasn't an overly smart fighter, and I think Moses Itauma is. Now, I'm sure someone's going to comment it there, being a fanboy, that, so it's not about that. I'm not saying he's going to beat Usyk. I'm not saying he's going to be one of the greatest of all time. I'm just saying, is he the real deal? I think he is. I think he is, because he's not reckless. He doesn't charge in. He doesn't throw wild punches. Very calculated. You watch him. And he keeps his distance. He keeps his range. He sets you up. And then as soon as he has you hurt, that's it. That's all she wrote. So that's why I'm really impressed with Itauma. All right. Is it Itauma? Whatever. I'm going to call him Itauma. It depends on who you listen to. All right, Tom's dad, Naz, how are you, mate? Welcome to the show. I'm getting sick of Turkey acting like boxing god, trying to get Moses versus Usyk. Parker has earned his shot, okay? Moses even said so in his post-fight, would love Moses versus Miller or Hrgović first. Yeah, well, that's probably those fights will probably happen, if Usyk does decide to fight Parker. You would probably think that Moses and Hrgović would be next. That would make the most sense. So either way, we're going to start seeing Moses Itauma against some good fighters going forward. My thing is that apart from obviously Usyk, but apart from that and maybe Joseph Parker, I don't really see any heavyweight giving Moses Itauma any problems. Tyson Fury is the obvious exception for me, because if Tyson Fury, and that was not strange, but it was the interesting thing about Tyson Fury, no surprise, of course, he said that Moses Itauma would destroy any of the older heavyweights in the division at the moment, and rattled them all off, except himself, of course, which is to be expected. But I think Moses Itauma would have problems with Tyson Fury because of his size, his reach, his movement, the way he boxes, good boxing skills as Tyson Fury. But would Tyson Fury be able to stay away from him for the whole fight? I'm with everyone out there saying it's, we're all getting a bit carried away with Moses Itauma, but you got to break it down and not just look at the fact he's bowling over these guys. It's the way he's doing it. As I said before, it's not just a reckless guy throwing bombs and getting these people out of there. He's doing it in a very calculated way, which tells me he's got very, very good boxing brain and IQ, and he's going to be a very, very good fighter for a long time to come. Let's hope in a year's time I'm not wiping the egg off my face after Parker or Usyk's destroyed him, but we'll see. All right, Richard. Hey, your political correctness is out of control. Biggest farce of all time. Imagine having to walk on eggshells to voice an opinion that some might not like. I'm not sure this one's out of context here, Richard. I've missed a comment there. But I'm with you. I did comment about this morning the AFL player who it looked like he's going to be barred for 5 weeks or suspended for 5 weeks because he called a Collingwood player some homophobic slur. And again, I know it's the time we live in. You shouldn't be calling anyone names. I get that. But to miss 5 weeks, 5 weeks, including the final series, because you call someone a name. A name. Times have changed, haven't they? I don't get it. I would think in that situation it'd be a phone call to the club and the player to say, hey, mate, pull your head in, will you? That's not on. If you do it again, we might hand out maybe a 1-week suspension. All right, we just don't want that on the football field. Does that extend to everyone? So if someone calls me a mother effer, does that count? To being called a homophobic slur? I'd be quite offended by it. How dare you speak about my mother that way? So I doubt it. And this is the hypocrisy these days, which I don't want to get on my soapbox here. We're on a boxing show here, but this is what I'm getting at. If someone on the footy field, if I was in there and someone called me a mother effer, nothing would happen. But you call me a poofter and you're out for 5 weeks. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, we've covered it off, Richard. Thanks for the comment. We'll move on quickly. All right, Naz. Hrgovic and Adalia, 8th round was a beauty. Yeah, it was. I only watched the highlights, Naz. I must admit, I didn't watch the whole fight. I just watched the highlights, but it looked like a really good fight. Maybe if I get a chance this week, I'll watch the whole fight. But yeah, the highlights were really good, especially that 8th round. Hrgovic has got a chin. Surely he at least gives Moses some rounds, and he's a logical step for mine. Next step for mine. I'm with you, Naz, and as I said, that does make sense if Usyk doesn't want to fight him for whatever reasons. Maybe Usyk's just a man of his word and integrity and says, hey, young man, that's great. Turkey wants me to fight you, but I'm going to give Parker the shot that he deserves. This is where the Turkey Al Sheikh thing comes in, doesn't it? Where the Turkey says, I don't give a care what you think, but what you want to do. This is what I tell you, and this is what you're going to do. So we'll see. Look, I think Hrgovic would definitely give Moses some rounds. I just don't think he's skilled enough or fast enough, Naz. This is the issue that all of Moses Itauma's opponents are going to have. They're just not fast. Unless you tie him up early. The strategy I would probably go in with, and it's a dangerous strategy, is to try and actually get really close to him early on. If you're backing up and letting him dictate his range and his distance, well, he's going to carve you up. He's going to nail you early, unless you've got really good defence. And we know Dillian White was well past it, but I don't know. It'd be almost trying to spoil him as much as you can in those first 2 or 3 rounds, and maybe pick it up in the back 9. But geez, he's going to take some stopping, that's for sure. Just because he's so dangerous early. Richard, what does Jeff Fennick think of drinking breast milk and mixing placenta in protein shakes like Nikita does? Look, I don't think something Jeff would have done, Richard, but I think, like I said before, it's just that's who he is. That he's a quirky guy, and that's what he wants to do, and it's part of his persona. I don't think Jeff would have too much of an opinion about it. Didn't see him today there either. Not sure he was there, Jeff. He's in Brock's Corner on Wednesday, so good to see him back together too, by the way. In my opinion, it would be much more exciting to see the belt fracture and Moses pick them up one by one in big fights against the other guys, the other next generation guys. Yeah, good point, Naz. I don't mind that either. Maybe that could be the way. I mean, looking at the rankings at the moment, I know a lot of those will change, and Moses Itauma will probably rocket up the rankings now. But if you look at the IBF, so you've got Derek Chisora and Efe Ajagba. I think Moses Itauma would wipe the floor with both of those guys. But they would obviously fight for the belt. Did you see Derek Chisora with Joseph Parker? That interview we did? That was really bizarre. Really bizarre. Especially considering that Joseph Parker's beaten Chisora twice. And he was a bit lippy towards Joseph Parker. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Then you got the WBA. You got Michael Hunter, Moses Itauma already. So you'd think Itauma again would wipe Hunter out. Unless Miller gets to him first in September. If that fight takes place, then you've got the WBC, Lawrence Okoli, Daniel Dubois. I think, Dubois and Moses would be a good fight. And then you got the WBO, which is Moses Itauma already ranked number 1, where he would fight Joseph Parker. I'm with you there, Naz. I think that would be a good way to do it. Vacate the belts and let them all fight for him. And he does what Mike Tyson did and just pick them off one by one. All right. As for the boxing, thanks, Richard. Yep, we'll get on to the boxing, not the political correctness stuff. Zerafa did a great interview with SEN in Sydney. Him and Nikita will be a great fight. Moses Itauma was impressive again, but sad for Dillian. His brother said he is done. Yeah, he'll be done, mate. I didn't hear the interview on SEN, Richard, but I take your word for it, mate, that it would be a good fight. But by all accounts, he's not interested in the fight, Richard. And maybe that was a bit of the argument as well. He's not interested in pumping up a Nikita fight. He doesn't want the fight. He wants Tim. Now, I don't think he's getting Tim. I did hear a really good interview today or see a really good interview with Glenn Jennings, and did pretty much say that's not going to happen. So maybe there was a bit of a dummy spit over that. I don't know, but either way, there was some issues that I'm sure will come out in the aftermath of Wednesday's card. Naz, with Nikita saying it won't be Zerafa next, and Ben Damon asking for Brock's opinion on Zerafa's no-show for no obvious reason. Are they trying to build a Zerafa versus Brock fight before the Nikita one? I doubt it, Naz. Nah, I think what they're trying to do is definitely build up Nikita versus Brock. Yep. And as I said, I don't think Michael Zerafa is really keen on the Nikita fight, and I don't really blame him, to be honest, apart from the payday and maybe giving Aussie boxing fans a bit of a treat. Doesn't really do anything for Michael Zerafa's rating. And at the moment, he did say he was ranked with all 4 organisations. I didn't think that was the case, but let's have a look. So he's rated number 15 with the IBF. He's ranked 8 with the WBA. Not ranked with the WBC is Michael Zerafa, and ranked 11 with the WBO. So not ranked with all organisations, like he said, but still with 3 of them. So there's really no real benefit for Michael Zerafa fighting Nikita, even though Nikita is actually ranked, where's he? 11 with the IBF. And he was ranked, I think, with the WBC. Was he? Nikita? No. The WBO. Number 15 with the WBO. Tim still ranked at number 11 with the WBC, by the way. That's the only sanctioning body he's ranked in. I just don't think they want that fight, Naz. Or Zerafa's team doesn't want the fight. He wants to go for a world title. Nikita's not really going to do it for him. So I don't blame him for not wanting the Nikita fight for business reasons. He just wants Tim. So I think it'll be Nikita and Brock, mate. That's the track they'll go down. The thing I will say, too, about the Michael Zerafa and No Limit situation is I always thought that No Limit was sort of almost doing Michael Zerafa a favour by signing him, because Michael Zerafa didn't have a promoter. And No Limit, in my opinion anyway, it's not like No Limit needed Michael Zerafa. I always thought it was them just bringing him under the umbrella, just in case the Tim fight happened, or in this case the Nikita fight happened. It wasn't them signing him to really get behind, because I would have thought that when it was sort of brought up that they were going to sign Michael Zerafa, or maybe interested in signing Michael Zerafa, this has only been going for about a year or so, by the way, that they would have been very mindful of what Tim or Team Zoo was thinking about the whole thing about bringing Michael under the same umbrella because of the history. So I always thought it was just a bit of a favour. So it does surprise me that Michael Zerafa and now No Limit are sort of butting heads, because I would have thought that No Limit would have said, well, all right, mate, see you later. Good luck finding another promoter. Who's he going to get to promote him? Not really anyone in Australia, I don't think, apart from maybe a smaller promoter, would get behind Michael Zerafa. So I would have thought that Michael Zerafa would be doing everything he possibly could to keep in the good graces of No Limit. This is what surprises me a little bit with what's going on today. So always 2 sides of a story. That's all I'm going to say, though. Always 2 sides of the story. And we've sort of heard both of them today. Be interesting to see what the actual story is that comes out down the track. All right, what do we got there? Running Amok, 1989. Who wins between once beaten super welterweight prospect Monir Fathi or tricky southpaw Andrew Hunt? They are matched to fight. Is that right? When's that on? Let me look. Andrew Hunt. That is a very, very good fight, Running Amok. Andrew Hunt. Let me have a look. I did see that he might be fighting soon. Where is it? All right, so they are fighting in November. Okay, November the 7th, to be exact, in Melbourne, which is odd in itself. You've got a Sam LeBruna show. That does make sense. Monir Fathi is from New South Wales, isn't he? From Sydney. And Andrew Hunt is from Queensland, as far as I know. So that doesn't make a lot of sense that they're fighting on a Melbourne show on a Sam LeBruna card. So on that card, we've got Camille Bella. Who else is there? That's probably the only one I sort of recognise, actually, is Camille Bella. Good fight, though, Running Amok. Who do I think wins? I haven't seen much of Andrew Hunt, because he's only had 1 fight back, hasn't he? Yes. So he hadn't fought for, 4.5 or 3.5 years. He had a win over Mika Rivetti back in April. I think before he sort of parted ways with the sport, running amok, I would have thought he would beat Monty Fathy. I haven't seen him since he's come back, mate. So if I had to just go on, what I've seen of Monty Fathy lately, I would say he would win. But I tell you what, if Andrew Hunt can get back to anywhere near his best that he was back in 2021 and earlier, he would be a very, very good prospect who we'd be talking about. But again, I haven't seen any of him since he's been back, so I'll probably have to go for Monty Fathy. What's that? Gee, love your passion for boxing. Thanks, mate. Yeah, you got to have something in life to get you out of bed every morning, don't you? Well, work, of course, and family, but you need a passion as well, I think. All right. Nikita still seems a bit awkward when interviewed in front of the camera, which is fine, and I get the media needs to sell him and his fights with the quirky angle, but some of it is so cheesy. Yeah, it's a little bit that way, isn't it? Look, as I said, though, Drew, I just get the impression that Nikita, it's not his thing. He doesn't like to do it. He does it because he has to do it. And he's probably, look, maybe it's a little bit of the Russian heritage or culture coming out of him as well. He's a bit dry. Tim's a little bit the same as well. I think Nikita's probably a little bit sort of more chirpier than what maybe Tim is. But, yeah, he does seem a little bit awkward in front of the cameras. But at least he fronts up and does it every single time. So, Tony, you did Australia proud. Sam, hold your head up. Yep, 100% Tony. What's that? Spot on. It was a hard watch. Bring back Megan Barnard for me. I thought what was her name? Eloise someone. She had a weird last name, I think. Where was it? Hang on, I can't remember who it was. Hang on. It was Eloise Sohia. I think that was her name. I think she does the rugby league and all that up in Sydney. I really like Megan Barnard. Naz, the only thing I can think of there is that maybe she was unavailable because she normally does all those live telecasts. I think she was really good, Megan Barnard, so I'm sure she'll be back, mate. But I thought the other girl did okay. Eloise. All right, Jules, how are you there, mate? Sadly, I can report that putting my life savings of Goodman points decision at 7-1 was a mistake. But what a performance, the prototype pathway for Aussie fighters. Yes, that's probably something that we haven't really spoken about, Jules, is the way they did it. And that's probably one very, very good thing that No Limit have done, is they brought Sam Goodman along very, very well. Got him the right fights, obviously got him ranked, but also gave him fights against guys that could fight. And I don't think, I'm sure there's always the knockers out there, but I don't think you could look at Sam Goodman and say he wasn't ready for a shot at the world title. He's fought some good fighters on the way up, carefully matched fighters, but all preparing him in the right way. Probably the only thing they hadn't probably prepared him for is to fight out of Australia. So maybe in hindsight, they could have put him on an undercard of Tim or whatever. And I think maybe he was on one of those cards that might have been one of the Charlo, or the Charlo fight, I think it was. He was going to be on the undercard. And it just didn't happen. That's probably the only thing they could have done for Sam, if you ask me, is maybe put him on an undercard overseas somewhere. Maybe worked in with PBC and got him on if it wasn't a Tim fight. But overall, I thought he was ready, and I think his performance showed that he was ready, Jules, and it was a very, very good performance. Running amok, the Combat Board needs to sack New South Wales ref John Couchy. He's been a ref since 1979. He's old and frail, always loses control of fights, makes mistakes and horrible calls all the time, and I cringe every time. I'm trying to think of the one you're talking about there, mate. I can't comment without putting a face to the name, mate, but I think most of the referees do a pretty good job. But if that is the case, what is that? 46 years as a referee. It's a long, long time, isn't it? Tony, come on, lads, get on Big J's channel, and God willing, he can get a decent camera. Jokes aside, it's a damn good channel. No punches pulled, straight shooter. Yeah, he is, Tony. I have sort of told, you got your phone here. I've told, don't film like that. Just film it like that to the side. And at least that way you're going to be able to put it on YouTube and fill up the screen. Now, I've got, the camera I use is really good. I actually haven't got it here. It's an Osmo Pocket 3, DJI Pocket 3, and it's very, very small. It's about that big. You won't obviously be able to see it on Spotify, but very, very nimble. It's got the gimbal camera, and very, very good just for pulling out of the pocket, and very, very light as well. I don't really like, especially when I'm on my ventures overseas to have big cameras and microphones and that sort of stuff. I've got a little microphone that I pinned to my my collar that you can't see, and then the camera I can just pull in and out of my pocket when I need to. But yeah, Big J, get at least turn your phone to the landscape mode, mate, and not the portrait way. But yeah, get on there and support Big J. Jules, I think conspiracy theorists onto something. Presser has been scheduled for that time slot for days. Yeah, there's lots of theories out there, Jules. But as I said, according to Michael, at 9:41 this morning, so what's that, 10 hours ago and 10 minutes ago, he was told not to turn up. So we can just go by his by what he's saying, I suppose. Excuse me. All right, Drew. The right man won in Goodman versus Ball. But these fighters train so hard and sacrifice too much to be mercilessly nailed by corrupt, agenda-driven or incompetent judges. I just think it was a case, Drew, as I said before, where I just think the judges were just watching one fighter. I don't think they were corrupt. I don't think they were incompetent. They just didn't have really a reason to give Sam some rounds. I don't know. I'm one of those grasping at straws here, but I don't know. Look, I've got no doubt, in to say corrupt, I've got no doubt maybe there's some judges that sort of indirectly know who's supposed to win. I don't know, but, mate, it's been going on for I was going to say centuries, but decades, and it'll probably be going on for decades more. Daniel, how are you, mate? Welcome to the show. Tough week for some of our finest. Sammy done very harshly by the judges, and Andy Maloney done dirty in Mexico. $20,000 in expenses lost. Let's hope they give him the mandatory spot and do the right thing. Yeah, I'm with you there, Daniel, and I really felt for Andy. I just could imagine what he was going through. But yeah, and if you didn't know about that, of course, you've probably been living under a rock as well. But what happened was Andy had been over there for 4 or 5 weeks. There'd been 4 date changes, at least. Was it 4? Maybe 3. I think the original date was July the 12th. Then it went to July 19th. Then it went to August the 6th, I think it was. 7th? 6th, it might have been. That makes sense. Hang on. I'll just get my calendar out so I don't get that wrong. So it was July the 12th. Then it was the 19th. Then it was the 9th. And then it was the 16th. So there was 4 different dates, 2 different locations. The second location was 800 kilometers away from the original location. Now, not a big deal. You can jump on a plane. I get that. But when you're preparing for a fight and everything else, I don't know if there's anything else happening there behind the scenes. But all I know is it would have taken a lot for Andrew and his team to jump on a plane and come home. A hell of a lot to get him out of there. So I got no doubt that whatever was going on was a little bit untoward. Speaking of the Maloney boys as well, keep a lookout on some big news coming soon for the boys. Something I'm really happy about. And they're both boys, some big news coming. So keep a lookout for that. And as far as the mandatory spot, I did sort of hear, Daniel, that that is the case. I think from all accounts, IBF are supportive of what happened with Andy and his team. And he won't sort of lose any ground on that. I think it's just a matter of what happens next and who he fights and whatever. But I don't think they're going to penalise him for it. If not, if anything, apparently he might even might jump the queue a little bit if that's possible. Because what was he, number 2, I think, wasn't he? But yeah, some big news coming for the Maloney boys, so keep a look out for that. G'day, Andrew. How are you, mate? You're listening? Good stuff, mate. Richard, say what you want about Zerafa, but the bloke is mainstream news here. Certainly is, Richard. Yep, he's done pretty well at marketing himself and getting his brand, so good on him. Tony says, to running a muck. Mate, I've been saying this for years. Thank God someone else agrees with me. He cost Zerafa a win. What was that about there? Hang on. What did run a muck say? Whatever it is, Tony agrees with you. I'll keep moving on. Where are we? Lost my way there. Okay. Ali Uges. How are you, Ali? Fight week always bring in the drama. Why would one of the Rose brothers say don't come? Are they trying to push Zerafa as the bad boy? Will No Limit make up with Zerafa, or will he move to Matchroom? I wouldn't expect those big guys to be too interested in Michael Zerafa, Ali. I hope I'm wrong. But, I mean, you're only as good as your last big fight, Ali. And in Australia, Michael's still big news, obviously, on these cards and No Limit of behind him, and he promotes himself so well. But in the world scene, Ali, I mean, all someone like Eddie Hearn at Matchroom will be looking at is, oh, that's the guy that got ironed out by Lara in 2 rounds. That's what they look at. I know that sounds a bit cruel and a bit heartless, but that's just the way it is, mate. You look at even, with the Maloney boys of Matchroom. With Top Rank. Cut them loose, even though they had some great wars and had some great wins. As soon as it wasn't really viable to them, they cut them loose. And that's so I wouldn't have thought Matchroom would look at Michael Zerafa and go, well, he's marketable for us. 33 years of age, was knocked out in his last fight in 2 rounds. I don't think he'd be under the microscope at the moment, mate. Which is why I said before, it surprises me why him and No Limit are at odds, because I would have thought without No Limit, I don't really know where Michael Zerafa goes. And not in Australia anyway. He might always be a bit of the B side overseas if they want him, but I don't know. There's a lot of things that don't add up to me. Julian, Sam Goodman had Nick Ball by the short and curlies. What do you think went wrong? I just think he took the foot off the pedal, Julian. And as I said before, mate, I just don't think his style and his way of fighting is just very attractive to the judges. That's all. Fought a great fight, though. I gave him $1. They wanted Brock Jarvis versus Zerafa. Stink. Okay. I'm not sure that's auto correct or whatever it is there on fight, but I don't think they do. I gave him $1. I don't think Michael Zerafa, in my opinion, I could be wrong, he's not fighting Brock Jarvis. Why would he fight Brock Jarvis? He's ranked in 3 sanctioning bodies on the world scene. He is looking at the moment at, where is he? With the IBF, where it was, so he's number 15. So he's looking at a Yanabek Alakanuli, who is ranked in both his organisations. 11 with the 11 with the WBO, did I say? Yep. And 15 with the IBF. So he's well in the probably scope of someone like a Yanabek as a voluntary. And then he's with the WBA, I think was the other one. Yeah. So that's not going to happen. So really, if you break it all down, Michael Zerafa will be looking at Yanabek Alakanuli. And whether you think he has a chance of winning that is irrelevant. That's who he's looking at, because he's not ranked with the WBC, so you can count out Adames. And he's ranked in the WBA, but he ain't going back to Lara, and Lara's not going back to him. So Yanabek Alakanuli will be the fighter in his sights. That does make sense for No Limit to sort of get behind him in that way, because it's a great fight to have on TV here in Australia. But Jarvis just doesn't make sense, mate. He's not ranked by any organisations. The odds are he never will be. So why would Michael Zerafa fight Brock Jarvis? Doesn't make sense. What we've got to look at here too, guys, is that might make sense to us. Hey, that's a good fight. Brock Jarvis, yep, and Michael Zerafa. But you've got to look at your business cap on here and look at what the managers and the fighters are looking at and promoters of what makes sense. I'm sure No Limit would love Jarvis and Zerafa, because I don't think they really give a toss what happens to either one of them, to be honest. I don't think they expect either one of them to be world champions. It's all for them. It's all about Tim and Nikita and Liam, both Liams, and Sam. So I don't think they really... I think the reason they've signed Michael up is purely to keep him under the umbrella for potential zoo fight, whoever that might be. So it makes sense to them, maybe Zerafa and Jarvis as well. But for Michael, no sense at all. All right, Ali, you disagree. That's fine. No Limit are promoters. They would love to build a potential zoo fight and Nikita fight. The press conference would have brought these guys together, meaning more eyeballs. Yeah, you're right. They are promoters, but it doesn't matter what No Limit want, mate. If Glenn Jennings and Tim Zhu say they don't want to fight Michael Zerafa, well, there's nothing No Limit are going to do about it. Remember here, you talk about the dog and the tail. Tim Zhu is the dog, No Limit are the tail, not the other way around. A lot of promotional firms, the promoters are the dog, the fighter is the tail. In this instance, the exact opposite, mate. So if Tim Zhu says, mate, forget about this Zerafa fight, No Limit have got nothing they can do about it. Nothing. So they need Tim. He's the biggest star in Australian boxing still. He's the one that's still going to generate pay-per-views and big numbers and all the rest of it. He's the backbone of their organisation, really. So, yes, they would love the fight, but if Tim says he doesn't want it, then it ain't going to happen. Simple as that. And Nikita, I think Nikita's a type like, yeah, all right, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. If not, I won't. I don't think he really cares. So, if anything... And I think Michael has sort of gone down this track a little bit, although saying that Nikita's an embarrassment to the Zoo name doesn't help. But I think Michael's sort of been a little bit in between in the last few months about the whole Zoo thing hasn't been too controversial because, end of the day, if he upsets the Zoo camp, neither one of the Zoos need Michael. So if he upsets them too much and they both say, we don't want to bar you, I mean, he's left out in the cold. There's not really that much else for Michael Zerafa here, Ali. This is the thing. And you're right that No Limit promoters, they want that fight. But if I was Michael, I'd just be treading a little carefully with those guys because just in my opinion, I think the Zoos, whether it be Tim or Nikita, are the only big fights in Michael Zerafa's future. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it is Janabek or someone like that. But I just think after that Lara fight, we talk about it's a long way back for Tim. Well, how would you feel being Michael Zerafa with that Lara fight? You know, that wasn't, a competitive fight. It was a 2-round blowout. So how do you come back from that? And at least Tim had a massive support base here. He had a big promoter behind him, had it all behind. So he's got a lot going for him. So Michael, on the other hand, sort of hasn't. So, yeah, it's a complicated one. But as I said before, if I was Michael, I'd be just treading a little bit carefully and trying to work in with the Zoos rather than trying to upset them. So, again, it'll all come out in the wash, no doubt. Excuse me there. All right, Drew. I must admit my very first and last thought was to exclude Zerafa to set up some contrived publicity for the fight in what has been a less than lukewarm build-up. Yeah, it hasn't been great, Drew. I think they've done a pretty good job. They do an awesome job with the posters, and I think the videos have been okay. But the boxing fans out there aren't stupid. And unfortunately, I've just got a feeling as well, is that in this instance on Wednesday night, Nikita and No Limit by association are going to suffer as far as numbers and all that go because of Tim. The casual fans out there, now that Tim's sort of a bit of a hiatus and I was going to say well-deserved hiatus. It wasn't, obviously we don't want him in hiatus, but he's on a well-deserved break. He's been going hard for a few years now. I think because of what happened to Tim in Vegas and maybe a bit of the luster coming off his name, that Nikita will probably suffer as far as numbers goes. And as I said, No Limit will as well because they're the ones that need the dollars. And that's probably why they put Michael Zerafa on the card to help spice it up, which again doesn't make sense that they would upset Michael Zerafa and have him potentially leave the card. And then, it's all hell breaks loose after that. So, yeah, look, again, Drew, I won't comment too much on it because we haven't heard everything yet. I've got no doubt about that. All we've heard is both parties with their opinions and their view of events, but I want to see a little bit more before I make some more judgments on that. All right. What else have we got there? Nectar of the Gods. How are you there, mate? What do we got? I've no problem someone pointing out that Nikita is weird because he is. Brings it on himself with the weird shit he says he does, mate. That's for sure. All right, Naz. All the Brit broadcasters were building Sam up as well. Andy Lee seemed impressed with him also. High praise. Yeah, no, I thought he fought really well, Naz. But, and Turkey Al-Sheikh did as well, didn't he? But the only thing going against him is that being a not overly exciting fighter. And this is the weird thing about Sam. Now, contrary to what a lot of people think, he's not a runner. If you watched him on the weekend, he actually stood centre ring most of the time and fought in the centre ring and really invited Nick Ball to come to him. He's a very good fighter, and as I said at the start, very good in all areas. Very well-equipped guy, all-round fighter. The problem is he's not an appealing type of fighter, an exciting fighter, and someone that you really look forward to seeing. And that's a challenge also to No Limit. How do they promote this guy coming back to do pay-per-views and all this sort of stuff? Because I got no doubt the pay-per-view Sam has done in Australia would have been woeful as far as the numbers goes. It doesn't help some of the fighters they put him in there with. But do they then have to maybe do what we're doing with Liam Wilson and Liam Paro, put him on the same cards as those type of guys? Maybe that's the way to go. But when you do that, you can't pay them as much because you got to split all the purses a certain amount of ways, and only so much money coming in. It's a tough one. I think with Sam, hopefully, what I'm hoping happens with him is that Turkey Al-Sheikh says, "Yeah, we're going to give this guy another crack against one of the other guys, either at 122 or 126, and put him on a Riyadh season card, if that makes sense, over there." I mean, at the moment, the rankings obviously haven't been updated, but you look at the featherweights. I don't know who are these guys are fighting on the Riyadh cards. Only Nick Ball, isn't it? Really, Fulton hasn't, I don't think. Espinoza, 122 at Dinaway, who knows, maybe they still put him within a way. I don't know. But yeah, it's one thing to put up a great performance, Naz, but then obviously you got to work out what's next. I'm sure he'll just come back to Australia for a fight or two, then maybe pop up on a Riyadh card. Let's hope so. All right, Tony. Agree Sam's punches didn't seem to have any spice on them, similar to an Aussie fighter. I can't remember his name. I think Mahoney. I think he throws a flurry of no power shots. Yeah, it's Ben Mahoney, Tony, which is a good example, actually. Ben Mahoney, or Marnie, however they pronounce it, is a very, very good fighter. But when you watch him, it's like, when's the next fight up? I'm trying, again, not to be too mean about it, but that's just the way it is. And when you put these guys on cards, you need them to be able to create some level of excitement. And Ben's a really, really good fighter as well. But again, you're watching your clock, counting down the rounds to when the next fight starts. So that's a challenge for the fighters and the teams and the promoters, but that's the business we're in. All right, changing the subject. I've been waiting for this to come. Canelo Crawford. What are we, only 4 weeks away now? Been thinking about the Canelo Crawford fight recently and believe Canelo should fight in close and Crawford mid-range as the best keys to victory. Your thoughts? I think Canelo should definitely fight in close. That's a given. Crawford, yeah. I don't think he can run, Drew. I think that just plays into Canelo's hands. I think he's got to do what Floyd Mayweather did, and that is, if I can explain this properly, Floyd Mayweather took center ring most of the time against Canelo, but counterpunched. So normally it's the other way around. If you're on the inside, the center ring, you're the one that's been proactive, and if you're on the outer ring, well, you're being reactive and you're countering everything they do. What Floyd Mayweather did to massive success is he took center ring on a lot of occasions, but still counterpunched. So he stood in center ring, put Canelo on the outside, and challenged him to punch first, and then he would counter him. And he really then moved him all around the ring and controlled the fight. And this is what makes Floyd Mayweather such a great fighter. And Crawford, same boat, cut from the same cloth as Floyd Mayweather. So that's what I think he needs to do, Drew. I think he needs to not run from Canelo. He needs to stand his ground, but also keep his distance and counter Canelo. So be in front of Canelo, challenge him to punch. Canelo's not a fast guy, especially at 168. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to bang the arms, the shoulders, the hips. He's going to hit him everywhere he can. I think Crawford's smart enough to sort of just get out of range and take the punches on his elbows and gloves or whatever it might be, and then counter. So that would be my strategy, Drew, is to stand in front of Canelo, but still counter him. But good call there. Good analysis there. All right, Jules. A good point, Reed. The scoring, balls, punches sound different when they land and can also influence judges, but you could watch the same fight 3 more times and score it 3 different ways. That's right, Jules. Unfortunately, for Sam, that is, he doesn't get another crack at it by rewatching it. All right, Ali. Importantly, Sam put on a great fight. Looks like he will get on more Saudi fights in the future. Hopefully it means Turkey gets more Aussies on the cards going forward. Yeah, good call, Ali. Maybe they do start looking towards Australia. They've got Liam Parra, would be great to put on. Liam Wilson always entertains as well. So plenty of good guys they can get on there. The one fighter obviously that don't want is Tim. I still don't know really what Turkey's problem with Tim is. He was supposed to fight Virgil Ortiz on that card last year, which is, talk about sliding door moments. Tim could have been fighting Virgil Ortiz last year if he's cut out a heel properly. Just crazy. Maybe the Murder Zalia fight would have come a month or 2 earlier than what it did. Who knows? But I don't think Murder Zalia would have done. Ortiz would have done to Tim what Murder Zalia did anyway. Whether he would have won, whatever. But yeah, hopefully it does open the doors there, Ali, and gets a few Aussies on the cards. All right, Naz. If Huni had a better chin, I think he would almost be the best chance to beat Itauma. I was just going to say that, Naz. I almost said it before. If anyone's coming through, and I suppose I still sort of consider Justice on the way up. Maybe how good he was against Wardy. Maybe he's not on the way up. Maybe he's now established. So we'll throw him in the mix. I think he would give Itauma a hell of a fight. The only problem is, of course, is we know that Huni can be caught, and when he is caught, he can be decked. I think would it be another case of the Wardley fight? I mean, Itauma is 5 times the fighter what Wardley is talent-wise. I thought what Justice did is expose Wardley as being a pretty one-dimensional type of fighter. Itauma has multi-dimensions to him. Who knows? That could be one of the super fights of the future, Naz. But I'm with you. I think if Horny did have a better chin, he would have the best chance. But you never know. If he did fight smart and didn't get into the range of Itauma and get caught, maybe he could outbox Itauma. The only thing with Moses Itauma is, though, as I said earlier, I mean, he's so fast and so calculated. I think he would match Justice as far as natural ability goes and talent. And he's got that knockout punch to go with it. So, but would be a great fight down the track. And who knows? I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of heavyweights not wanting a part of Itauma. Maybe Mick Francis says, hey, get us on that Riyadh card and we're there. Who knows? Sam Goodman has a good chin, says Julian. Ball hits Sam with some big shots. Yeah, underrated chin there, Julian. I think that's sort of been lost in the mix a little bit there with the feedback. It's just how tough and durable Sam Goodman was from those big punches, because Nick Ball has hurt a lot of guys in the past. What's that, Drew? I heard that George Rose's brother's wife's uncle's girlfriend's pool cleaner was there to support Sam Goodman overseas. I don't think even he was there, Drew. Pretty disappointing, mate. All right, Glenn. How are you, Glenn? Haven't seen Batman yet. I'm sure you guys will renew hostilities later on. Evening all. Haven't got much to add to the comments so far, but boy, Moses more than passes the eye test. I know he's shot, but his round of boxing was perfect. Yep, is that Dillian White was shot? Yep. It was perfect, Glenn. Did exactly what he needed to do. And that's what I was so impressed about. He just didn't go out there and just throw bombs without, with any care and do it recklessly. He went out there and got him out of there with a calculated game plan. I just thought it was brilliant what he did. All right, Ali, I think No Limit did a disservice for their other fighters. They should have built relationships with others in Saudi, which would only benefit the fighters down the line. Well, they've got a pretty good relationship with PBC, Ali. And look, maybe what's happened is that you got to remember, I mean, before Turki Al-Sheikh really branched out into the world scene and hooked up with, he might have been with Eddie, but hooked up with Goodman-Ball and all the rest of them out there. No Limit had already sort of hooked up with PBC by that stage. We're talking about 4 years ago, whatever. Turkey was more so doing the heavyweights back then. That was it. Wasn't really stressed about doing all these regular cards that they're doing now and these stack cards. They just sort of had the heavyweights. That's sort of what they were more interested in. So I got no dramas. Maybe PBC have looked after No Limit in the past. Top Rank, they've worked in with it as well. Liam Wilson's had world title fights on their cards as well. And maybe they just haven't been. Well, actually, take that back. Tim was supposed to be on the Riyadh card season last year, so they're obviously in talks with them back then. So maybe it just hasn't happened yet. Maybe just the fighters that Tim was going to fight were all linked with PBC, which is why they've done business with them. And maybe they're just open to whoever wants to do business with them. So I wouldn't put a line through it that they might work with them down the track, but they need the right fighters. And when you look at it, Sam fought on Riyadh card. Tim was with PBC. Liam Wilson was with Top Rank. So I think they've spread themselves around. It just comes down to who makes the most sense from at the time. Richard Zerafa has that Prince Nassim personality. I don't know, Richard. I think Prince Nassim had a bit more fun with it. I think Zerafa is pretty serious about what he has to say. Yeah, I don't know. But whatever he does, it works, Richard. Everyone's sort of talking about Michael Zerafa, and he's done a really good job at promoting his brand. All right, Drew. This might be an unpopular opinion, but right now I actually think Ajit Kabial might just be the biggest threat to Usyk. I don't think Parker quite has the tools or IQ, and Itauma is too green. Yeah, again, though, Drew, it's not going to matter. He ain't fighting Kabial, mate. If he's only got one fight left, maybe two, he's not fighting the likes of Ajit Kabial. He's looking at obviously Parker or Itauma. Might still be looking at a Tyson Fury 3. I don't think he'll be looking at Ajit Kabial because you're right. He's a good fighter, but he has just literally no appeal whatsoever for Usyk. So I don't think it's going to happen. Naz says, would be interesting to see how Usyk handles Kabial's body work. Yeah, yep. But again, it ain't going to happen, Naz. Oh, actually, this is a good one. Neck to the gods. Itauma versus Opataya in a couple of years would be a great fight. Wow, it would be too, mate. What a fight that would be. Yeah, that would be a hell of a fight. Obviously, Itauma would have a lot of the advantage because of his size. He's a big heavyweight, or is he? Hang on, let me just have a look at how much did he weigh. He's a big boy, isn't he? I think. Let's have a look. Moses Itauma. All right. What's his nickname? Enrico. Okay. All right. All right. So he weighed 235. So in the old measure, hang on. I think it's about 107, is it? Let me just add that up. 235 divided by 2.2. So 100, yeah, just under 107. Yep. Okay. Yeah, well, I think, what's Jai fight at 200? Yeah, so it'd obviously be the bigger man, but geez, talk about boxing IQ of two fighters, mate. Oh, geez, would that be a fight? I think, though, if I had to pick one of them, I'd still probably like to see Justice because he is that big, strong, natural heavyweight. But, geez, that could possibly be a title fight down the track, couldn't it? Opatai and Itauma. Itauma wins the titles and Opatai challenges for him. What a fight that would be. Sort of brings back sort of the vibes of like a Tyson Spinks or something like that, doesn't it? Oh, that would be a great fight. There you go. You've brought it up too, Ryan. Thoughts? Only because I've seen comments surrounding Itauma in regards to not getting carried away. So again, does our Jai beat Itauma? I don't think so. The side, look, again, we're probably all maybe getting ahead of ourselves as far as Moses Itauma goes, but I'm just so impressed with what I've seen so far. I would probably have to give, as much as I hate to say, give him the advantage at the moment because I haven't seen Jai as a fully fledged heavyweight yet. So let's just probably park that as well. But if Jai moved up in his next fight and fought Moses Itauma, I would give the advantage to Itauma just because of his size. I think he matches Jai as far as boxing ability goes, matches him with speed, might even be a little quicker than what Jai is. And I just think his talent is second to none as well. So put the size on top of that, I think I'd back him. But, geez, what a potential super fight that is. Andy, I like Moses versus Parker as your preference. Joe is deserving of his title shot. 100% is deserving, Andy. But, again, deserving's got nothing to do with it, mate. Comes down to what makes the most business sense and what Turkey LL Sheikh wants. If he wants Moses versus Usyk, the odds are that's going to happen. Imagine that at Wembley, though. I mean, look, all things aside, it's a massive fight. You put that fight at Wembley Stadium, you put Parker and Usyk, that would probably have to be in Riyadh. It's not, I don't think it's going to create a lot of hysteria over there, but you put Moses Itauma against Usyk at Wembley Stadium, and we're talking 90,000 there and a massive, massive audience, massive attention. So, yes, Parker deserves a shot, but again, it means nothing. I still wouldn't be surprised if Usyk and Moses happens. All right, Richard. Juan Manuel Marquez drank his own urine. Said he puts it in the fridge the night before. Yes, I remember that. I do remember that, Richard. Did it do him any good? Don't know. Glenn, this whole turkey picking who fights the champ just reinforces my belief that he's not at all that good for boxing. Well, I've been saying that for a long time, Glenn. Good in some respects, but not good in others. Look, the thing is what I'll say about Turkey. I mean, I don't want to go on a turkey bashing exercise here, but even those supposed big cards he's put on in Saudi Arabia, I mean, they've been okay, but they've been promoted as some of the biggest cards ever, not by a long shot. But I think any I suppose, benefit or advantage or whatever it might be, putting those, or credit he gets for putting those big cards on in Riyadh, they lose all their luster by simply being in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. Mate, give me the Crawford and Canelo fight in Las Vegas and and it looks like it's a pretty crappy undercard anyway, with no undercard whatsoever. And I'm still backing that card. I want it to be in Las Vegas. Give me 6 world title fights in Riyadh. Okay, it's great, but again, no atmosphere. No one gives a toss. So I suppose you've got a balance of what you really want out of it. Give me fights in Las Vegas, New York, England, or London any day of the week over the Riyadh season cards, mate. Because I don't know. Again, he gets all the pats on the back about those massive cards he's put on. I still don't think we've had one really great card that he's put on. Some really good fights. I give him credit for getting Bivol and Beterbiev into the ring together. Credit for getting the Usyk and Fury fight together. Not that was ever going to be too hard to put together by Matchroom or Top Rank or Queensberry, whoever put it on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan anyway, Glenn. Good in some respects, but I think he gets far too much credit. For me, take me back to the 80s and 90s and 2000s, mate. What do you got here? What's this? Furian Survivor. How are you there, mate? Moses did look absolutely sensational, but White looked absolutely shot. His legs looked stiff before he was hit, and he had 0 punch resistance. Good riddance to this 3-time drug cheat. Yeah, well, he has had a checkered past, hasn't he? Yeah, look, Fergie, I'm not saying that it was a performance of the ages and Dillian White was a Joseph Parker or something. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I'm probably putting the opponent aside. I'm just looking at from what I saw as far as Moses went. Just the way he went about it and the way he pretty much executed Dillian White, didn't he? But just the precision of his punches, the placement of the punches, the timing of the punches, just everything about it just showed me, regardless that Dillian White shot, we know that. And yeah, okay, the first round knockout, I'm not getting too excited about, but what I am getting excited about is what I've seen from Moses Itauma, just in the way he went about it. And that was just a great performance. So, but yep, good riddance. Yep, not a bad call. David, Usyk is mad to not fight Joseph Parker. He can then lay claim to having beaten everybody of his era. You can take that on Itauma after that as he swung. So, yeah, not a bad way to look at it, David. Yeah, Joseph Parker's probably the only, well, you can probably throw Deontay Wilder in there, but he's shot too, isn't he? But the only credible current heavyweight is Joseph Parker. So, yeah, maybe he will. And maybe he fights him and then fights Itauma as his next fight. Who knows? But either way, 2-6 decision to make, and I don't think history will judge him any harshly, no matter what track he takes. Excuse me. Ali, most plausible explanation is Nikita not wanting Zerafa there. One of the brothers called saying you were not needed. Then the rest of the day is played out saying he no-showed. Who knows? Ali will continue to hypothesize what happened, but only those guys know what happened. All right, I gave him $1. Enjoying the show while doing sit-ups and shadow boxing. Good stuff, mate, as I'm a fatty from winter. And even though I'm in my 50s, I'm single and need to pull a shag every now and then. Good stuff, mate. Ain't nothing wrong with being in your 50s, mate. I'm with you. I'm the same. I train 5 days a week and love it, mate. Really enjoy it. I do 10 rounds Monday to Friday and, love it as well. So I think you can do it as long as you do it to your capabilities and you do it to enjoy it. You should be able to do it till the day you die. I don't think age should be a number to stop you from training. All right, Naz, good luck with that too. By the way, I gave him $1 with the shag. You don't sort of get that sort of thrown around these days. If you're young as well, by the way, guys, a shag is pulling a woman every now and then. So that's what it is. Is it the new generation, Z or X or Y or whatever the hell it is? All right, Naz. I don't understand that ever anyway. All right, Naz. Not sure about Paro targeting the IBF. Paddy Donovan will be hard to dislodge once he wins the belt. Rolly or Barrios much more beatable. Yeah, not a bad call, Naz. Well, so you got Barrios at WBC. He's going to be out of action for a while, probably a year, because we've got the Pacquiao fight in December. So probably this time next year that he'll be ready to go again. And even if Pacquiao wins, I don't think he's looking at Paro anyway. Rolly's definitely an option as well. Just looking at the other guys there. So junior welterweight. All right, so we've got the IBF, of course. Donovan and Crocker are fighting for that. Do you really think Donovan will win, Naz? I think Crocker's not a bad chance in that, but I'm probably with you. If I had to pick one, maybe Donovan. Would be a good fight, though. WBA, he's not ranked, I don't think. And that's Roller Ramiro, but it's not hard to get ranked these days, is it? The WBO might be out of action for a while. You would think that with Norman and Haney fight at the end of the year, they're probably not going to fight till this time next year as well. Excuse me. So, yeah, he hasn't got a lot of options for starters, Naz. But you're right. If I was No Limit and Liam, I'd probably look at Roller Ramiro as being probably the most beatable out of those fights. If he beats Ramiro, then you might have a Ryan Garcia sniffing around as the man that beat the man, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, some good options for Liam going forward. Ali, would love a behind-the-scenes Netflix or Amazon documentary of boxing promoters. Good call, Ali. Isn't that funny? Yeah, you get documentaries about pretty much everything except maybe a boxing promoter. I even seen one the other day, the Dallas Cheerleaders. I mean, even they've got a documentary. So yeah, let's get one behind Eddie Hearn or Oscar would be the one, wouldn't it? I know Oscar's got a movie or something coming out, and he has had a documentary about him. But you're right. a behind-the-scenes look at the promoters would be great. Wouldn't it be great if one of them actually, I mean, Oscar would probably be the one because he loves the social media, of actually having a YouTube show. And all they do is you pretty much do a reality show on YouTube. So I'm sure he's got the money to hire someone just to document his life. A director, producer, cameraman, whatever it might be, and he could probably do it just to follow him around. He's obviously got someone with the phone that does his Instagram stuff, but how good would that be to actually have Oscar with a production team and he does his own reality show? What do we got there? Oh, there you go. Naz, Matchroom are actually doing one on Netflix now. Oh, there you go. Or for Netflix now. There you go. What's that? Yeska, wouldn't mind interviewing you on my new channel. All right. Yeska, what's the name of your channel, mate? Let us know. Eminem, how are you, mate? Thanks for a few of their heads up this week on a bit that's going on. Appreciate it. What else have we got there, Naz? Itauma talking about the game plan working really good. Hang on. Itauma talking about the game plan working. Really good channel. A guy called Henry, okay, does a breakdown of what that game plan was. Very good watch. Okay, what's it called? A guy called Henry. All right, I'll be sure to check that out there, mate. Talking boxing, is he? Eminem, seems No Limit / main event may have overstepped the mark, saying Zerafa was a no-show today at the press conference to make up false narratives, when in reality he was told not to attend, apparently. Yeah, we've gone over that already. Don't know about the legal action for defamation. Is defamation... I thought defamation is when you actually say something bad about somebody. I'm not sure whether just saying they... Oh, I suppose if you say they did something and they didn't, that might be cause for defamation. But in this case, I mean, it's just them telling porkies, isn't it? I don't know. Again, it just does not make sense to me that you would have Michael Zerafa, who I know a couple of years ago was really on looking for a promoter because he couldn't find one. No Limit, the biggest promoter in Australia, said, all right, we'll take you under our wing. And now we're in the legal action. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me again. But anyway, we'll move on. Glenn, Moses' management of distance is amazing. He's never out of position yet. A little bit of the amateur coming out of him too, Glenn. I'm not sure how many amateur fights he had, but the in and out movement is like almost like an amateur does. Very, very good. Like you see most pros, especially heavyweights, they sort of lumber around. They just sort of throw a punch, get inside, and then they go to work. He's in and out really quick, like an Usyk. And part of Usyk's success has been that he still fights a lot like an amateur. And maybe Moses will be the same. All right, William. With the young heavyweights coming through, I would have loved to see Itauma versus Honey. Yep, now probably we know the outcome or justice learned from his last outing. I think he'll be back, William. And again, wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the big super fights down the track. Thanks, Yaska. No worries, mate. Great work. Yep, no problems at all, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Jules, fast forward a year or 2 or 3, could we see Opetaya on a collision course with Itauma at heavyweight? Who wins that 3 years from now? Yep, seems to be the subject for all you guys. Look, could I see him as a collision course? Yes, 100%, Jules. Could see Opetaya and Itauma fighting. 3 years from now, I'm going to back our man Jai. I think if he goes up to heavyweight in about a year's time, he's got 2 years to really get established in the division, maybe win a belt. The only problem is he'll be 3 years older. But I think is he 29 or 30? So he's still young for a heavyweight. Naz thinks the opposite. 3 years, I think Itauma will be unstoppable. Yeah, but they said the same thing about Mike. Naz, there's always someone out there. There's always a Buster Douglas there waiting in the wings. William says, a young George Foreman, Moses Itauma. Yeah, don't know. George was a big, lumbering guy with sledgehammer fists. I had to liken him to someone. Geez, I don't know. He doesn't really fight like anyone that I've seen, Itauma. I know he sort of, you can see he models himself on Mike Tyson, but I think he's actually naturally more skilled than what Mike was. I don't know. He's a unique type of fighter. All right, Jules, back to the boxing boys before we get shut our hands talking about the shagging. Yep. All right, Glenn, I just don't think Jai is big enough for Moses. I don't think power carries to heavyweight. Yeah, good call there, Glenn, but hopefully we'll get a chance to see that. Yeah, Ryan, I did say that. I did say Poofter. Yep. Whatever happened to Sticks and Stones? Is that how far behind I am? Didn't I say that about an hour ago? All right. Political correctness in sports. I remember the front page of the Herald showed a Collingwood fan with a huge bone from the butchers pointing it at a player at Princes Park. Times have changed. They certainly have, mate. Well, as I said before, mate, the fact that you can be banned for or suspended for 5 weeks for calling someone a name, I just cannot get my head around it. Wouldn't you just say, get stuffed if you're the player? And even if he is gay, not that, as Jerry Seinfeld would say, not that there's anything wrong with that. Who cares? I think in one respect, haven't we all matured enough now that I know in years, I know I'm getting way off subject here again, I'll be very careful, but haven't we, like, over the past few years or decades, whatever it's been, I understand, a lot of fun was made about gay people and all the rest of it, and they'll butter a lot of jokes and a lot of name calling and all the rest of it, but haven't we matured enough in the last probably 5 or 10 years where we really having to get so precious about it without just saying to someone, just pull your head in, mate? We can't say that. Just pull your head in. To call someone a name, I cannot get my head around it. I really can't. It just makes no sense to me. No matter what you'd say to somebody, how could it be equated to a 5-week suspension in sport? Just literally, what's going on at the moment makes literally no sense to me. But anyway, all right. Jai versus Itauma might come sooner than we think, yeah. Ali, Zerafa always said no limit, promised him a zoo fight when he signed with them. Maybe Zerafa is frustrated this is not going to occur. So, well, Ali, if that was the case, if Michael Zerafa signed with no limit under those pretenses, well, either him or his managers are idiots. I mean, how can no limit speak for Tim Tszyu? So how could they possibly go to Michael Zerafa or anyone by that matter and say, you sign with us and we'll guarantee you a fight with someone like Tim Tszyu? Tim Tszyu is his own man. Glenn Jennings would have said, well, you don't tell us what to do. Our contracts says that you promote us and we all make money together and everything else. You don't tell us who we fight. We tell you who we fight, especially when it comes to this. So that doesn't make any sense to me. I did see that Michael Zerafa did say that he was promised the fight with Tim. But as I said, there's no way that Glenn Jennings would have said, yeah, that's okay, you sign him and we promise that we'll fight him. No, they would have said, we'll fight him if we want to fight him. Again, Tim Tszyu is the dog. No limit is the tail. Okay, Michael Zerafa is just whatever they want him to be. That's the simple. Again, it might be a bit to the point, but that's literally how it is. Now, Michael goes on about his ratings and his brand and all that sort of stuff, but unfortunately, I don't want to break the news to him, but when it comes to this, he's still the B, C, and D side. I hope he gets the fights, I really do, but we have to be realistic about it. That outside of Australia in our little bubble here, it's just a whole different ball game. But anyway, I don't think that's true. I won't say it's not true that maybe No Limit said that to Michael, but there's no way it would be true that Team Tszyu would have agreed to fight Michael Zerafa if they signed him. That is just complete BS. Can boxers improve punching power? Of course they can. Yep, of course they can. Not necessarily just with the natural things you would expect, like strength and conditioning and weights and all that sort of stuff. They can improve by technique, William. So, for instance, someone like Nick Ball, watching him yesterday, he would have so much more power if he simply stepped outside the shoulders and put his weight onto his outside leg and drove off those legs. He's an arm puncher. He's got some pop in his punches, make no mistake about it, but he's an arm puncher. But if he actually used his side to side and shifted his body weight either side and come in from outside the shoulders, he'd have a lot more power. Watch Mike Tyson fight, mate. He's the best example you've ever seen. The way he shifts his body weight, puts all his weight on one leg or whatever it might, or one foot, and just drives off it. It's about technique. So 100% you can improve your punching power with your technique. Yep, strength and conditioning obviously also, but either way, it doesn't matter how big and strong and powerful you are if your technique's no good. You see it a lot with, go to a nightclub, William, and watch the bouncers in there get into a fight. Do they even get in fights anymore? I don't know. They're probably not allowed to. Watch them put their hands up. One of those big bodybuilders with the security shirts on. You want to laugh? There you go. Have a laugh. Because they're all sort of, they can't move. Then you get the little guys that boom, 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 boom. All technique, mate. All technique. All right, Ali. On top of that, I don't think No Limit has done much for Zerafa's career or to his career. He doesn't get pushed or world-class opponents, which he should be based on his ranking. No Limit are too zoo-focused. Yeah, I just get the impression, Ali, that they've gone in a little bit half in, half out with Michael Zerafa. I think they've got him under the umbrella just in case. I don't think they've got behind Michael like they have with Liam Paro or Liam Wilson or Sam Goodman to really push them for a world title shot, or else he'd be headlining cards and getting all the money pumped into his fights. At the moment, all he's getting is undercard fights against, let's face it, pretty ordinary opposition. This guy on Wednesday is horrific. Michael, if he's even remotely world class, will knock this guy out in about 4 rounds. He's not great. But that's not Michael's fault. He's on the card. They've put the opponent to him. He said, yep, all right, let's go, as he always does. But you're right, they haven't done much for his career. But as I said, I think they've gone in a bit half-assed. They've got him under the umbrella just because they can have him, and depending what happens with Tim or maybe Nikita. But they've never actually really invested in Michael as far as putting him as a headliner and putting him in with a really world-class type of fighter. They just haven't done it. So you're right. And they are zoo-focused, but why wouldn't they be, mate? They're being where the money's at for them. And again, I just don't think they've invested in Michael Zerafa's career because they just probably didn't seem like he was part of the team. I think they just did it just to cover their asses with the zoos. All right, G-Bags. Following what Thomas win on the weekend, who do you reckon he fights next? I reckon Bacoli, Hrgovic, or Michael Hunter are interested in fights for him. I think it might be Hrgovic if it's not Usyk. G-Bags. All right. Eminem, something still seems afoot between No Limit and Sam Goodman. Well, there's a fair bit of love after the fight, Eminem. But, again, I still don't understand why they didn't have anyone over there looking after him. Megan Barnard was doing the cricket. Oh, thanks, Ross. Sorry, I don't watch the cricket, mate. I know you do, but she's good. She's really good. Jules, Hunt was giving away £25 in the fight with Rivetti. Not sure what that choice of opponent before a very dangerous Fathy says about where Hunt is at. This is the, Andrew Hunt. I am way behind, aren't I? I better speed up. Drew, thank God I didn't pay for Itauma versus White due to the short fight. I got to see the whole thing on YouTube, pure gold. Yeah, I'm with you there, Drew. I got straight on YouTube, actually, and watched Sam Goodman's fight. I didn't watch Itauma's fight till after I'd watched the Sam fight. It's funny, after I watched Sam's fight, I was like, all right, well, the other fight should be about halfway through now, so who knows, I might find a stream on that. And I jumped on and it was already over and the fight was in full on YouTube already, so I just went bang, bang. So it was great for my walking boxing. I got it over with pretty quick. All right, Jules, Big J looking filming like he's underwater. It's part of the charm. Yeah, could be. Yep. Going old school, Jules. Naz, saw a few interviews with Buddy McGirt during the build-up last week. I could listen to him for ages. The guy has some stories. Certainly does, Naz, and he was a great fighter back in the day as well. What's that? Buddy also doesn't look at opponents' fight footage. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, but what he says and what he does might be a bit different, Glenn. He's a very good trainer for a reason. All right, Asbop. Hi, all. Listening to Zerafa go on and on about Tim Tszyu over the years is like having your leg dry humped by a desperate little chihuahua. It's a good way to look at it there, Asbop. David, judges at world level should be the best in the business. Should be no excuses for the crazy scoring with Sammy. Yeah, I'm with you, David. In a perfect world, that would be the case. Naz, how on earth does Keith Thurman get a shot at Fundora? Makes sense. Bolchuk and Ramos Jr. would be pissed. PBC bloody annoying sometimes. I have no idea how he's got that fight, Naz, but he's somehow landed, I think, at number 8 with the WBC, and here we are. I would have thought that Tim was the voluntary. So I don't know how Fundora gets another voluntary with Keith. Let's just quickly go to the WBC. So Boots Ennis is the number 1. So obviously the Tim fight was in place before he jumped to 154. But Boachuk was the highest. I know Ortiz is out because of the injury, but Boachuk was the number 1 contender. So why wouldn't he get this fight? Because Tim was the voluntary. Now Fundora gets another voluntary. And I think before that, the Chordale Booker fight was a voluntary as well. So it's got me stuffed, Naz. WBC for you, I suppose. Do you have any updates on the potential for an upcoming fight for Jai Patai? No, I don't, Drew. I had a good chat to Mick Francis in New York when I was there. He was over there trying to do a few deals with Justice and Jai. And all he said was that at that point, This is before Zerdo Ramirez had his operation. They were looking to fight him and then go to heavyweight. So I'm not sure. I've got a feeling they will have a defense of that IBF belt. Maybe look at what Badu Jack's doing. If he doesn't want to fight, I think they go to heavyweight, mate. David, furthermore, Sam looked well-schooled and did Aussie boxing a service with his polished performance. 100% agree, David. It was a great performance from Sam. I think Ramos Jr. is moving to middleweight. You haven't heard much about him explicit lately, Ramos Jr. Not quite sure when he had his last fight, actually. I could probably type his name in the box rec, but it'll probably bring up about 500 Jesus Ramos Jr.'s out there. Let's have a look. Where are we? Yeah, that might be him. Yep. 23-1. Yes. Last fought in March. That was against Guido Schramm. And he won by 7th round knockout. What card was that on? That was at Mandalay Bay. Oh, that was on Fondora and Booker. Okay. Yep. All right. He'll go good there. Explicit. Yep. That's Ramos. Good fighter. Good fighter. All right, Ali. Sorry when I said Matchroom, I meant the Tasman boys who put on an event with Matchroom. Okay, yeah, that's cool, Ali. All right, what are your thoughts on the Jake Wiley Bilal Dib fight this week? Who do you think will win? Top 15 IBF ranking on the line. I'm going to go for Jake Wiley, Ali. Dibs, look, his game. He gave Liam Wilson 2 good fights, but I think Jake Wiley, he's a little bit green, even though he has had the Cambosis fight. I think Jake's probably on the way up, where I think Dibs may be on the way down. So, Jake Wiley for me, mate. G-Bags. If Crawford shocks the world and beats Canelo, what does this do for his legacy? Well, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame anyway. I don't know, G-Bags. That's a really good question. I mean, you ask him, he's on the Mount Rushmore of boxers. I don't think he goes that far. I think there's been plenty of other fighters like him that have had great legacy wins like this one. Yeah, it's a good call. I think he goes down as one of the greats, but not a top 10 or 15 great, I wouldn't have thought. Definitely not a top 10, but maybe one of the greats. Just wish he had fought a bit more often, G-Bags. He's just not fought enough for me over the years. All the greats fought regularly. He just has. I know it's a different age we live in these days, but I just think he's going to hurt his legacy a little bit by just being so inactive for so long. Oh, okay. I gave him $1. I listened to Too Much Roy and HG. They say stink instead of fight. Okay. I don't listen to that show, mate. So, all right, that's what you meant. All right, Jules, local judges get paid peanuts and basically no one wants to do it. If promoters paid more, it would force more accountability. As for internationals, where there's money, there's always corruption. Look, as far as the judges and referees go, Jules, it's not up to the promoters what they pay them. It's up to the combat board. So the combat board determine what they get paid. It's not like they don't get paid or they get paid peanuts. I can't remember what it is, but it's not a lot of money. It's really just a bit of pocket change, really, I suppose, when you think about it. But if they do, a couple of shows a week, whatever it might be, it's okay. But you're right. But it's not the promoters that determine it. We just, as a promoter, we just pay the money. We get told what we've got to have in envelopes at the start of the night to give the referees and judges, and they take care of it. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but I agree it's not a lot, but it's on the combat board. Naz, Matchroom, if Matchroom trying to get a foothold in Australia, why not sign someone like Cooper O'Connell to take them into the future? Well, that'd be a great thing for Cooper. No Limit don't seem to be too interested, so let's hope that someone like Matchroom is, mate. All right, Drew, if Nikita gets past Ismaili and Brock Jarvis wins, I hope they fight each other. I think it would be the perfect fight for both, given the current career positions, but for different reasons. I 100% agree, Drew. If you said to me which fight would you prefer and which fight makes more sense, I would say this is Nikita versus Brock or Nikita versus Zerafa or Brock versus Zerafa. Nikita versus Brock to me makes the most sense. Nikita's still working his way up the rankings. Brock Jarvis, I think he's just a water treader, if that's the word. But I think he would also give Nikita a hell of a fight. That would, they'd have fight of the year written all over it. So that would be the fight for me if I had to pick. Janabek versus Zerafa. Geez, very dangerous and probably not much money involved. Can see why Nikita makes more sense to Michael. Well, he doesn't want to fight Nikita though, Jules. So no, I don't know. I think Zerafa versus Janabek makes the most sense. Zerafa's world rated in 3 organizations. Nikita, it just doesn't make sense to me. The only thing it makes sense to me for is that It keeps the Aussie public happy. It makes money for everyone, and especially No Limit. And that's about it. It makes no sense to have them fight for rankings or titles or anything like that. And Zerafa at his age, he's after the big scalps, and Tim is still a big scalp. So I think he sees Nikita as a big step backwards. That's what or a nothing fight. So that's why I can understand he's not interested in the fight whatsoever. But Janabek makes a hell of a lot of sense. You would have to go over there to fight him, though, because there's no way Janabek's coming to Australia after the way he was treated last time, I wouldn't have thought. What's that, Cal? Way off top, and then taking last breath to see, could you give a huge regards to my beautiful Nanny Love Boxing, Mrs. Spride? Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Cal. And yeah, all the very best wishes to yourself, mate. And yeah, and massive or huge regards to your nan, mate. I'm sorry to hear that, and all the very best, mate. What's that? Hermit's Cabin. Disrespectful on his terms, though. I'm late here, so I guess you have spoken about that. This is not quite sure who you're talking about there, Hermit, but let us know. Tony, Canelo, Crawford, the Zoo brothers, Benavides Yard, whatever happened to McAllister? This is old mate Big J. I thought that was on the cards. Talk to Big J about that, mate. All right, Richard, who are some well-known Aussie boxing refs? Ignatius Missiladis and Brad Vocali are a few that come to mind. Philip Holiday, I don't really take much notice if I'm being honest, Richard, but yeah, there's a few out there. Les Fear. Yeah, there you go. He's another good one too. Yep. Stoked for Jake Wilder getting the headliner card. Whatever happened to Luke Molden's young fighter you interviewed before Jai versus Nikita? Good question there. Because as you know, Naz, I don't normally interview people, and he was just there and thought, oh, well, while I'm here, I may as well have a chat with him. What was his name? Let me just... he was an Olympian too, I think. I feel bad that I don't remember his name. All right, so that was back in January, wasn't it, that fight? January 8th from memory. So his name was... Where was it? What was his name? Gee, that's going well. I've got the fight card in front of me. I still don't recognise him. Taylor... no, it wasn't him. Jeez, I can't... Was it Billy McAllister? Was that his name? I think that was him. Billy McAllister. I don't know, mate. Hang on, has he fought since then? Yep, that's him, Billy McAllister. He did fight in... no, that was his last fight back in January. Yeah, I can't answer that. No, sorry, I don't know. He's not even fighting this weekend, which doesn't make much sense, does it? Do you think he should go over to the Fennec camp? Is this Zerafa you're talking about, Hermit? No, I don't think so. I think he's trained okay. I hope this is who you're talking about, by the way. Drew, if Nikita has a shock loss, No Limit will take a significant hit. It won't be end of the road proportions, but it will be a massive kick in the nuts. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen though, Drew. I've looked at the record of his opponent. Good that he's stepping up to his first international opponent, but I think he's only fought one guy with a winning record. So not that I've got a problem with it. This is the exact type of guy that Nikita needs after a long layoff and his first international fight. So I think it's great, but I don't think this guy's got any hope at all, mate, if I'm being honest. Yeah, Gus Mercurio back in the day, Naz. He was a great referee as well. Where are we? All right, Naz, you skipped my comment before, so I'll say it again. Oh, sorry, mate, I must have missed it. I can't believe Brock got rid of an elite trainer in Curtis Scott for the relatively unknown Jeff Fennick. Yes, good call, Naz. Sorry, I must have missed that one. I've been trying to catch up a little bit. Yes, good call, Naz. Yeah, how could he possibly part ways with Curtis Scott with his infinite knowledge and wisdom and experience for someone named Jeff Fennick? Doesn't make sense. All right, Tony, go watch Horn's Zerafa 2. That damn ref saved Horn in between his atrocious slow count and then take him to the ropes to have a consultation with the doctor. Mick had him on toast. Yeah, I'm with you there, Tony. I was actually at that fight that night, and I actually caught up with Michael before and after the fight too at the airport. He was not happy. I'm with you. I mean, it's probably the only round he won of the whole fight, but it was almost not. Well, you only need to win one round, don't you, really? And that's to get the job done. But I'm with you there, mate, whoever it was. If you can't remember it, mid-fight, I mean, Zerafa has Horn nearly gone. And in the middle of an exchange, and normally what they'll do is they'll wait till there's a clinch or whatever it might be, and they'll say stop, and they'll say time, then they'll take him to the doctor. He almost stopped him mid-punching. You know, Michael had Jeff in all sorts of trouble, had him gone, And the referees just said, stop. And Michael's like, what the hell are you doing? And he takes him over there and he gets it examined and everything else. And that, I'm with you there, Tony. 100% saves Jeff in that fight. And then, of course, he dropped him after that. And but if that hadn't happened with the cut, then Horn would have been out of there, no doubt. All right, J. Beebs, 3,000. We don't know what Bud will look like at 168. Personally, I think this fight will look like Canelo versus Jamel. Bit too much off. Hope I'm wrong. Yeah, it's a good call, Jeebs. Sorry, J. Beebs. All right. Anthony, how disappointing was the atmosphere in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? The lack of atmosphere further illustrates how soulless the crowds are compared to the UK, Australia, and the USA. Agree, Anthony. That's what I said earlier, mate. He's done some good, but, mate, it doesn't matter how good the cards are and the fights are. If you put them on and there's no atmosphere, and it sounds like you're fighting in a library, yeah, not for me, mate. What's that? Did you see Virgil Ortiz's interview with the ring champs? He sparred Canelo and landed a flush hook. Canelo ate it like M&Ms. Okay. Sparring's not fighting, though, J. Beebs. I'm sure that Canelo's been caught more times than that. We've never heard about it. It happens when you spar good fighters, so I wouldn't take too much out of that. Explicit. Turkey must have saved some money for Canelo and Crawford trailer, not having trailers for Stevenson, Zepeda, and yesterday's card. Expecting Godzilla versus Kong trailer, but Teddy versus Megdalon. Yeah, well, we haven't sort of seen too much yet, have we, Explicit? What are we, a month out? You would expect now they'll start to really ramp up the advertising for that, for the Netflix fight. G'day, Bacon and Eggs. How are you there, mate? Who else I see there? Pound for Pound. Welcome to the show, mate. William, is it correct that Itauma hasn't lost a fight as a professional or amateur? I can't confirm that, William. I don't know. Terramona got something about him. Justice is a machine himself. I don't mind Liam Taliva, from Sydney. And Leopold Jr. has a lot of potential at his age. Bright future down under. Yeah, some good heavyweights, mate, for sure. Is that right, Naz? True. 20-0 as an amateur. Okay. Jeez, I would have thought by the way he fights, he's had a lot more amateur fights than that. Jeez. What's he had? 33 fights in total. Crazy. Turki Al-Sheikh spent all his money on Haney Norman Jr. card. Horrible undercard. 3 days of boxing may make up for it. We'll see. Usyk does only have one fight left. It's better for the longer term than he doesn't fight Itauma. If he did and he beat Itauma, it would diminish the next couple of years of the heavyweight division. Yeah, another good call, mate. What's this there? I know you'll probably go on your promoters need more money spiel. But why didn't have to pay to watch Paro win or defend his world title? I won't be paying for his next $1 a type. Yep. Yeah, no, it's fair enough, mate. He when he won the world title, was that free? Was it? Was that on? That was on DAZN, wasn't it? I think from memory. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Look, yeah, I will put my promoter's hat on there. They need the income in Australia to pay for the shows. There's not a lot of money getting around. Those fights are not cheap to put on. They need to charge $70. I'm sure they do all the sums with the crowd versus how many pay-per-views they want compared to how much the card's going to cost. And those like these pay-per-view fights would probably cost $300,000-$500,000 to put on. Not cheap. So, you got to get the money from somewhere. So I got no dramas in putting it on pay-per-view. And they've got to make money as well. Remember, they don't just have to cover the costs. No Limit, this is their full-time job and they put a lot into it, not just No Limit, but all the promoters. So they need to make money as well. So I'm always going to actually back the promoters when it comes to putting out the money for these pay-per-views. Do I think they're worth $70 or $80? Absolutely not. But I understand why they've got to charge them to recoup the money. Sam Goodman is a quality boxer, knows how to conserve energy by not wasting space and display his stuff. Fan of his for a while, says Carl. Yep, I'm with you there, mate. Heaven sent. Parker doesn't deserve the Usyk fight. Fought a wash one-dimensional Wilder. Fought a no-cardio Zhang and Bacoli. 2 days notice. Parker versus Caballero. Yeah, I get it. Heaven sent, but we're going on results here, mate. So who else deserves a shot at Usyk above Parker? There's nobody. So I think we can make those type of arguments for all the contenders. End of the day, he's got the results. I'm with you. Maybe they've all had an asterisk beside him, but at the end of the day, he got the win, mate. So I'm not going to take him away from him. What's that? What I've been told, Usyk's last fight will be at the Olympic Stadium in, Ukraine. God willing, wants to have a sense of peace there. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, Tony. I think the war's still a way off, mate. So I think it might be away or far off from happening. What's this? Any chance of a watch along on Wednesday for old time's sake, or are you busy at the pub? Yeah, I'm actually working that night, Naz. Got some staff away at the moment, so I'm the one that's going to have to work. So yeah, sorry, mate. I will do one. I'm sure there's something coming up we'll do anyway. What's up, Beeves? Marquez Captain America in that fourth fight with Pac, but my hot take, Manny, was on the juice the whole time. Yeah, maybe. All right, Carlo Copetta. To be honest, I thought Sam was being fed to ball. That's why I'm a fan with no experience. Sam looked good at the new weight and frankly did the clean-up work with variety. It was a draw. Great rematch. Yep, I'm with you there, Carlo. It was a great performance from Sam, and I don't think he surprised a lot of people with the performance he put in. I thought he would be competitive, but I didn't think he would win. So I probably went the way I thought it would go, apart from maybe Sam being a little bit more aggressive than what I thought he would be. Yeah, boxing entertainment first and foremost, Saudi car. I get it, Justin, but I mean, you've got to also have the atmosphere, mate. You know, you're going to have great cards with no one cheering and stuff. No, that's not boxing. Boxing is, I know it's entertainment, but you've hit it on the head there. It's entertainment. You want fans at the venue going nuts and enjoying the entertainment. And no, I just can't get into the Riyadh cards. I'm sorry. All right, I've got a couple of comments to go. Then we'll call it a night. Where are we? I'm getting Towie says I gave him $1. Yep. That's right, Johnny. 100%. Donovan was destroying Crocker in the first fight. Easy work. Yeah. I thought the Crocker might do a bit. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, Naz. No argument there. I did say Crocker would be competitive, but Donovan did have the better of him and should do the same in the rematch. Congrats to talented young Moses for his win, but watch the Itauma White fight again. Those back to the head shots look calculated. Yeah, maybe. All right, fun fact, says Carlo. Itauma's body shape totally different to other heavyweights. AJ, Dubois, Adaliev, etc. All muscle bound, no stamina. Fury also not body beautiful, but has 12 rounds in him. Yeah, good call, Carlo. And Jai's a little bit the same as well. Watch him when he goes up in weight. All right, last couple of comments here. Hang on, I'll just pick the... All right, have you got anyone going to Vegas with you in September? Wish I could afford it. Hopefully I'll be on the next one. No, well, not officially, Naz. Shannon O'Connell and Cooper O'Connell and her other little son, they're going as well. So I said I might catch up with those guys over there. Actually, I think I will go to... I think they're flying out of Brisbane. So I said to Shannon I might fly up. I was going to go to Melbourne to LA, but I think I might fly to Brisbane first and maybe fly over with them and fly back myself and maybe catch up with Shannon and Cooper over there. But that's about it, mate. Yeah, which is okay. The offer's always there. I'm going to go. If anyone's going to come, let's go. If not, well, I'll just go by myself. I'm not really stressed about it. Oh, there you go. OG lights out. Super chat. Sorry, OG. $2.99. Thank you very much. Dylan Biggs will be a world champion. Thoughts? Nah, I'm sorry, mate. I don't think so. I think what we saw with Nikita, mate, sort of exposed. I think that Dylan's a very, very good domestic level fighter and doing great things at the WBC Grand Prix, mate. But as they say, there is levels, and unfortunately, it might change down the track. I just don't see Dylan Biggs at the level. I'm sorry, mate. Hope I'm wrong. I really do. Not to say I won't support him and get behind him. I'm just looking at from what I've seen so far, mate, and the way that Nikita sort of took him apart. Yeah, I just think, it might be a mountain too high for Dylan. But let's hope I'm wrong. Where are we? Last comment. Yep. All right, Julian. Oh, hang on. Is Jazzy Parr's opponent any good? Probably not, Richard. She's from Singapore, and not. I haven't really seen much of her, but looking at her opponents or her record, not great. What's that, Tony? Hang on a second. Dave Russell was our bouncer, Dorman. I'll give you the drum. You can punch him damn hard. Good call, Tony. Probably a bad example for me saying that was to say a bouncer. Dave Russell, the clear exception. What I'm talking about, Tony, I'm sure you've been I've been at a nightclub for about 30 years, or 25 years or something. But what I'm trying to get at, you probably know the ones I'm talking about. The big bodybuilders in the corner that think they're just all that in a bag of chips, and think they can smash anyone. Have never done boxing before. They just think because they're big and strong they can fight. Complete opposite. I must admit, not that I would ever dream of doing it, but if I was ever going to be in a nightclub and want to play up and throw a few, the first person I'm going to go for, if you're talking about security, is those muscle-bound guys, because you can hit them about 10 times before they even get their hands up. The ones you got to watch are the quiet little skinny ones, security guys in the corner. They can handle themselves. They're the ones you stay away from. They obviously do Muay Thai or karate or MMA or something, so stay away from them. If you've got a choice between the big muscle-bound security guy and the skinny security guy, go for the big guy every single time. But Dave Russell, good point. I forgot that he was a bouncer. I'm not saying all bouncers, Tony. I'm just using it as a general rule anyway. But anyway, all right, Julian. The name calling in footy is politicised by the socialist ideological bullshit. I don't even know what that means, Julian, but I agree with you. Brock doesn't have a chin. Yeah, I think he's been rocked a few times, mate. Ali says you've been a bit harsh. He's only lost twice. Once to a world champion, Paro, and second loss to a potential Hall of Famer in Keith. Brock just needs a couple of bigger scalps starting from Nikita. Yeah, maybe a little bit harsh on him, Ali. Look, he's a capable fighter. I just don't think he's anywhere near world class. That's all. That's probably where I'm getting at. Jack, see you Wednesday. Good stuff, mate. Well, I'll be down there pouring some beers, mate, or in your case, a can of Coke Zero. So I'll see you down there. What's that? Been lucky enough to be at Wembley for AJ Dubois last year. Atmosphere is everything. That's what I'm talking about, J Beebs. Now, would you prefer to see AJ versus Dubois at Wembley with that type of atmosphere and a shit undercard? I can't remember what the undercard was, but a shit undercard. Or go to Riyadh with a stacked card, but you're fighting in a library. Give me AJ Dubois every day of the week. All right, last comment. We need to meet for a beer this time. Yeah, I forgot, Batman, you were over there for the Tim and Pacquiao fights, weren't you? I forgot about that. Maybe we'll catch up over there, mate, for sure. All good. I know exactly what you meant. Great night tonight, mate. No drama, says Tony. Good stuff, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. It's amazing how quick the 2 hours fly by. So I really appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to Spotify afterwards. It means a lot. Make sure you check out Walking Boxing every day. It's usually up by about 10 a.m. in the morning and also on Spotify as well. So have a great week, guys, and look forward to seeing you next Monday on Talking Boxing.